Concord gameplay finally debuted during the latest PlayStation State of Play, and everybody seems to hate it. The trailer has received a massive amount of dislikes. More than that, just the dialogue surrounding this game is very critical and very negative. I'm not sure what the devs think about their sort of debut showing off their 5v5 FPS. The general consensus seems to be not another hero shooter. That's sort of what everybody is focusing on. Like, the cinematic trailer, people thought was cool, and then as soon as the gameplay hit, everyone was like, really? This is what you're making? And now, in my latest video, I walk through a lot, okay? I talk about why this is a huge risk. I look at the history of the hero shooter. I look at what happened with the Battle Royale genre when everybody was trying to make a Battle Royale game, and I start connecting dots. There are also things in that video about Apex Legends and Valorant and why I feel they were able to pull off hero shooters in the genre, but then I even look at Marathon. This is another PlayStation Live service game, and it could be indirectly impacted by this. They've been changing directions. It's also being made by Bungie, which in a roundabout way, so is Concord. So again, make sure and check out my latest upload. We always start each day with an upload, and that contains my thoughts. So watch it, leave a comment, leave a like. Sometimes those comments get featured in these live shows. So now you know what I think. Now it's time to hear what you think. So good morning and good afternoon and good evening, guys. I actually am really curious what you guys think about this, because I had decided I wanted to cover this. I outlined a whole video like the night that it happened, but I didn't have time to make it for the Friday stream. So the Friday stream, we just sort of covered the entire state of play, and we largely got kind of stuck on the God of War thing, which is fine. I thought that was a fun discussion. But I want to know what you guys think about this. I could not believe, I go to research it on Sunday to see, like, okay, where's everything? How's it doing? And the gameplay video, the separate trailer that they uploaded, it has an absolutely terrible like ratio, and I'm like, what is going on? So go through your morning ritual, man. Smash that like button. Give us our first 100 likes. You guys are already halfway there. Good turnout already. We're only been live for just a couple minutes now, so keep smashing that button. It helps out. It helps out those uploads as well. If you miss the upload, circle back, watch it, like it, leave a comment, all those things. And Han shot first, and so did Stonespire. Sorry, Joker Quinn. Stonespire beat you to the punch. He gifted a member during the premiere, and that takes us now to 2 members on the day. The goal for the week, 300 members, and you can put me through some pain, okay? You guys liked it when you made me go back and fight Moog. Well, I'll have to reinstall Lies of P and go back to the boss that made me stop playing that game. If you guys can get 300 likes, I think we'll do 300 likes for like a pain game, and then we'll do like, I don't know, like 400 for a scary game, and then we've been doing 500 for the end of the month creature stream. If you guys missed that, we streamed Foam Stars. It was hysterical. So make sure all of the great people that had gotten the membership in the last couple of weeks, you can now watch that even if you missed it live. So appreciate you guys so much. Mom and Dad directed the cinematic. I mean, I didn't mind the cinematic. I thought the cinematic was fine. I thought people were being a little unnecessarily harsh on the cinematic, but I also thought the cinematic set a tone. It was like, oh, you got a cast of characters. Like, oh, like, not that it was going to be like a Redfall, but I remember when we first saw the very first trailers for Redfall, I was like, oh, you're going to have a cast of characters with abilities. This could be like a really fun, maybe Borderlands type game, you know, like maybe something more PvE focused. I continue to think that PvE is going to have a resurgence. I think people are burned out on PvP. Now, I'm not saying that PvP games are dying out, but I think new games are going to struggle. I think it's really hard to get people to shift from the current PvP games that they like, and I think it's even harder to get new consumers, like new gamers, you know, like, hey, you don't play PvP games right now, but ours is really fun. It's like, okay, like, I don't play PvP games. You see what I'm saying? It's really hard to get new consumer, you know, influx into a PvP game. So what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get people to come from the game they're currently enjoying. Oh, are you enjoying Apex or Valorant or Overwatch or any of these games that are out there? Well, come play our game. Almost 3 years, Sven, with a VIP 35 months. Welcome back, Sven. Appreciate you so much. Missed the mark making it PvP only. listen, this is my greatest hope that comes out of this, okay? As somebody who has I've just had enough of PvP for my entire lifetime, okay? I just have. I've played enough. I hope the success of Helldivers and then Concord's reception, I think Concord's reception is almost indicative of how well the game does commercially. We all could be we all could be completely wrong. But generally speaking, when your gameplay debut is received to the degree that this is being received, it's not a good sign. So let's just imagine that this game flops, because that's seemingly where it's headed. The lesson that's learned here that I hope comes out of this is, hey, we can have ongoing games that are PvE and they might be more popular. Maybe PvP is a little tapped out. Hilly says, I'm a little surprised with the feedback. I'm not in the mood for another hero shooter 5v5, but it didn't look bad gameplay at all. So like I said, I'm a little surprised. You know, the more I think about it, I'm not surprised, Hilly. If you watch that trailer, as I said in the upload, it's like, what are they doing? Are they doing anything that's groundbreaking? Did you see anything new? I didn't see anything new. I saw guns. I saw abilities. I saw 5v5 hero shooter. What makes that game worth playing for more than an afternoon? I didn't see anything. I saw a bunch of Destiny abilities, and I saw some Destiny maps. They looked like Destiny maps. None of that's wrong. None of that's bad. It just isn't a very compelling offer. It's like, oh, okay. You have stuff from other games. It's clearly you're inspired by Overwatch. It's clear you've got some Destiny DNA in there. Unsurprising when you got Wisniewski and Jerome and Josh Hamrick there. Not surprising at all. But, like, what are you doing that makes me want to come play your game? SDO with the 15 months says, look to be a bit of the Destruction All-Stars game. Nice idea. It looks good, but doesn't have legs. And then Skeeter with 11 months, almost a whole year of memberships. I thought with the cinematic, it was going to be Borderlands style with a Division Dark Zone aspect. That would have worked, I think. Right? That would have worked. PvPvE was what a lot of people thought the game was going to turn out to be. Zubair says, didn't the two groups fighting over a MacGuffin suggest extraction? It seemed like it was going to be maybe some kind of an extraction game, Zubair, but I don't think it's an extraction game. That did kind of suggest that. It also could have been a loot-based game where, like, you got to get in and get out. Maybe like a heist-based loot game or something. It looked like a game I would play in 4 other titles. Why buy this one? Right. It really came across, the trailer really came across as like, hey, this is our hero shooter. It didn't come across as, here's a brand new game. It came across as, oh, you guys like hero shooters. Here's our hero shooter. It's like, okay. I mean, we've kind of, no offense, we've kind of played that game before. AOZ says, would be cool if they would have made it a PvP bullet hell, but technically that would be difficult. Oh, for sure. Eugene says, the gunplay emphasis will make me give it a shot. I wrote off Overwatch immediately because the gunplay looked like crap. Hilly says, no, that's true. They need to at least have a new mode we haven't seen to have a chance. They didn't really explain what we were watching. Well, and I tried to make room for that in my upload. I was like, they're either not offering anything new or they're doing a really bad job conveying how this is a new game. Like, where is the thing that you're doing that nobody else has kind of already done? Is it bad that if it's literally just an Overwatch clone with a Destiny Crucible paint job, I'm probably still going to play it and enjoy it? Are you going to play it and come back a month later? I said that in the upload. The question is not, is it fun? The question is, will you come back? Why will you come back to a somewhat generic 5v5 hero shooter FPS? Why? Are you going to come back in a month because they're doing a cinematic? No, you come back for the gameplay. What kept people coming back to Helldivers was obviously a handful of things. The gameplay, the Galactic War Table, the ongoing sort of things that you have to do. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm coming back because they're going to do a 60-second cinematic. That's not really what was bringing people back. It certainly helps when something's kind of ongoing, but I didn't see anything in the trailer that would last for more than a couple of weeks. It's like, what in the world? Okay, I'm telling you, these games are meat grinders. They always are. It's the same thing over and over again. So A month later, is anybody going to want to keep playing? How? Do you have emergent gameplay? Do you have everything that's going to be evolving the gameplay, changing it, updating it? You didn't tell us. It literally came across as, hey, we made a hero shooter. That's literally how the trailer came across. I think that's why people are rejecting it. They're like, it just feels like a cheesy trend chase. You're just chasing a trend. Otagon Ocelot with $2 super chat tip. I know I'm in the minority, but I thought it looked good. Oh, I'm not saying it looked bad. Don't misunderstand me. I've not said anything that it looks bad. I've not said that it looks bad. I said, what's the point? Shelly says, maybe the cinematics are that good. Hey, I don't know. I will say this seems to be loadout variants in the character select screen. Also implication of the blog of a rotation of game modes. Yeah, but who cares? Rotating game modes. Okay. Well, why do I care? What am I doing? I'm just playing a 5v5 hero shooter. As I said earlier, you are not just trying to get people to play your game. You're trying to get people who are actively engaged in PvP games to come enjoy your PvP game. That's tough. You're also trying to get people who don't like PvP games to come play your game. And I don't see anything in there that wasn't like, oh yeah, I've kind of already played that. You said it looks generic? Yeah, I did. If you want to interpret me calling it generic as it looks bad, that's your own fault. I didn't say it looks bad. I said it looks generic. It does look generic. How many movies have come out recently where the graphics are incredible and the cinematography and the lighting and the sound effects are incredible, but it looks generic? It's like, what the frick is that? What is that? Like, that happens all the time. Looking generic doesn't automatically mean it looks bad. Detective Seeds with 24 months. That's 2 years. Sup, Lono, sup, chat. Hope everyone's having a solid weekend. Thank you so much, Detective Seeds. The competitors are also free. Yeah, another massive threat to any game like this being successful is you're competing with free. Like, it doesn't look generic. It is generic. I actually thought the characters were cool. I liked the characters. I wanted to know more about them. Like, okay, where do they come from? What are their weapons? Like, what are they doing? What are they trying to, what are they trying to figure out here? But as soon as the gameplay started, I was like, I've seen all this before. I didn't see anything new. Kirk says, do you think if they had not been a Guardians game already, people would think this is more interesting? I mean, they'd think it more interesting if it was a PvE game, I think. We don't know if it's generic yet. No one has played it. See, I reject the notion that until I play a game, I can't speak on it. I think that position is untenable, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. We have been doing this a long time. Everybody here has been watching game trailers and playing games for a very long time. Do you honestly think that until I touch that game, I can't formulate an opinion on it? It's their job with that gameplay trailer to sell me on the gameplay. And all I saw was combat that I've seen in other games. That makes it feel very generic. It's like, okay, I didn't see anything new. I didn't see a new concept. Helldivers, when you saw the Helldivers gameplay, they showed you very basic sequences of like you drop in and you shoot aliens. And the reason that it was compelling was it was like, it's a knock-around game to play with your friends. We all just said that. Everybody going into Helldivers 2 said the same thing. Now, none of us said it was going to go viral and explode in popularity, but we all said that would be a fun game to play with our friends, and we were generally correct. I didn't say you couldn't speak on it. I'm just saying we don't know if it's generic. You're attempting to invalidate my claim that it's generic by saying I haven't played it, right? That's what you're doing. Do you not understand the argument you just made a moment ago? I'm saying it looks generic, and you're like, we can't say if it's generic or not. Nobody's played it yet. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. Can we define generic? Generic would be lacking in unique identity markers. There are no unique identity markers. It's not like, oh, I've never seen combat like that. Ooh, I've never seen abilities, guns, or maps like that. Ooh, I've never seen a concept like this before. Everything exists in another game in almost an identical fashion. It's like as I pointed out in the video, there are move sets in this game ripped directly from Destiny. Literal move sets that are just like directly from Destiny. I'm like, what the frick? Like, how is that supposed to feel unique? Yo, Otagon Ocelot with a $2 super chat tip says, shout out to Detective Seeds. Lono, that's a good man. Yeah, he's been on a, I like Detective Seeds' character arc right now. Right? I do. This man is taking no guff on Twitter. I appreciate it. I don't have time for all that nonsense. I don't really get involved on Twitter. It's ridiculous. Kelly says, the key word is looks in Lono's sentence. Yeah, it looks generic. Right. Now, Creature did say it doesn't look generic. It is generic. I said it looks generic. Right? And to me, we should put Miyako's definition on the whiteboard for the class of a style that does not sufficiently distinctualize itself from others within the same industry. Yeah, that's very similar to why I said I think that sounds better. I said it's lacking unique identity markers. Like when you see a trailer for Returnal, there's unique identity markers. You're like, okay, it's bullet hell, it's third person, it's a rogue, like it's all of these things. I've never played a game like this before. I've never seen combat like this before. When you watch the Concord gameplay, try to find anything in the trailer that you feel is unique that really makes the game stand out. There's nothing there. It's like, okay, I've played a game like this before. What about your game is going to make me really like it as well as come back? Opinions change. Lono can say it looks generic, and when he plays it, if he's right, he can say it is. But yeah, Lono's just expressing his impression. They've not given a good impression. Yeah, they have really failed to sell this game as something that you haven't played before. This is a unique challenge for PvP games especially. If you want people to come play your PvP game, you have got to have marketing that is either strongly saying it or at least subversively saying, you've never played a game like this. Now, I know that's incredibly hard. I know that's incredibly hard. But the problem is, that's what you're up against. You are up against people who have played Overwatch for years. They're playing Valorant. They're playing Apex Legends. They're playing Fortnite. They're playing Warzone. They're playing X-Defiant. And if you can't enter into that landscape and say, yes, this is a new game that is doing these new things, that's compelling. That makes people want to come try it. They didn't do that with their trailer. So people can sit here and say, you don't know until you played it. It might change your mind. It might completely blow us away. You're not wrong. They could completely have us all duped and fooled right now. They could be pulling a Justice League, but in the reverse. Like Justice League's trailer hit, and everyone's like, that looks like generic trash. And then it launched, and everybody was like, yeah, this is generic trash. And we've all moved on. I was wrong about that game. I thought, hey, that game might be, I think that game has a shot. I'm looking at this game and saying, no, it doesn't. One of the reasons I thought Kill the Justice League had a shot is because of the PvE element. I think it's easier to maintain PvE engagement. Maintaining PvP engagement in a 5v5 game? Listen to me. Let's be honest about what this is. You're selling us a mode. That's what you're doing. You're selling us a mode. Division Heartland canceled and decided not to run with what they were doing. Why? Because they basically took survival from Division 1 and they were going to try to turn it into a full game, and it wasn't going to work. Imagine this game if Destiny didn't exist and there was a PvE element and you had to level your character and get weapons and upload and upgrade all those abilities you see in the trailer. It would be like, oh, you go and have this side of the game, and then you go and have this side of the game. By itself, it's like, it's just a mode. You guys just built an arena a PvP arena. That's not compelling in 2024. It isn't. Overwatch hit at a time where that idea was like, wait, what? Like, that's all we're going to be doing? It's not like added on to another game. It's not like this secondary thing. And it obviously had the impact of Blizzard behind it, their notoriety, their spending, their quality. I mean, at the time, we have to be honest, Overwatch landed, and it was a highly praised game. It won Game of the Year. But that was almost 10 years ago. I mean, that was 8 years ago. It's been, a lot has happened since then. I'm telling you, this keeps happening. It's just happening in different ways. Kill the Justice League said, let's build a live service game. And in order to build a live service game, they just grabbed on to trends and cliches. And it was, then the game ended up having no soul. It was like, your characters look great, the world and the movement is fun, but the game has no soul. And I feel like The Last of Us Factions was going to be the same thing. They saw the explosion of live service and Battle Royale, and they're like, we can do that. Let's turn our mode into a standalone game. And as it got closer to ship, they were like, this is literally going to require our entire studio to make this work, and it might not even work. These are really hard games to get off of the ground. So they completely back away. And then Concord hits, and it's like quite literally, oh, you guys are chasing the hero shooter trend. You didn't make a unique game. You just made a hero shooter. The same thing happened with Battle Royale. That's why I ran down the history of Battle Royale in that trailer. It's like, there's a graveyard of Battle Royale games. They all tried to do it. They're like, whoa, Battle Royale's hot right now. We'll do one. Ghost Recon tried to do one. Fallout 76 tried to do one. Everybody tried to do a Battle Royale. And how many are left standing? 4, maybe 5, not even. Like, barely 5, I would say, that like actually are still successful, still generating money. There's probably about 5 Battle Royales that you would say are like mainstream and successful, and there's way more than 5 that are just dead and gone because they did the same thing. They thought, oh, that's really hot right now, let's do that. Even Tlu Factions on PS4s was just a mode, but it had a meta mode above the game where your performance took care of a Tamagotchi style camp system where you looked after the factions of the survivors. I mean, PUBG's still around and making money, for sure. There's still a couple that you might not consider are still around, but they're still around. The point being that everybody chased the trend, and then most of them didn't make it. Mash says, some people need to take a step back from their entrenched platform fanboyism and critically analyze situations. If anything, Sony fans calling this out are what keeps the platform great. Right. As somebody right now who I primarily game on PlayStation, I'm hoping the Nintendo Switch 2 changes that trend, you know, and we'll see what Xbox decides to do, you know, if Avowed and Indiana Jones and Stalker 2 can land in a good way on my Series X. Maybe I can be a little bit more balanced in where I spend my time. But as someone who I'm looking at the games and the studios under PlayStation saying, man, you guys have got a really bright future ahead. I can't wait to see your games. I'm looking at this game saying, dude, I'll play this for an afternoon. It looks fun. And then I'll put it right back down again. I don't see anything in it that is... Now, again, we could always be wrong about this. They are currently not doing a good job selling this game. Barry Murray is saying it. It's 6 years too late. I think that's well stated. I think if this lands like 2018 or 2019, the reception would be vastly different. It would be vastly different. And funny enough, the guys behind this game left Bungie in 2019. I think this is one of the most challenging things about making games right now. Is in 2019 and in 2020 when these guys go nose down and they start storyboarding out a game and brainstorming about their game. Back then, these are all hot ideas. This is all awesome. And then 4 years later, once it's built, everyone's like, we don't care about that anymore. We're over it. It's like, it's hard to fault the devs. I've said this before. How do you fault the devs when 4 years ago, 5 years ago, this would have been a hot game? This would have been red smoking hot. Like, oh, that's a sweet little game. But, the guys from Bungie have made a hero shooter. Well, Apex hits, does well. Valorant hits, does well. And people are like, okay, enough is enough. We've had enough of your heroes and your hero shooters. Listen, Concord had to have been worried when the Marathon news hit. When IGN reports that Marathon changes leadership and is shifted towards a cast of heroes, and everybody replies and is like, why? Don't do this. We don't want this. Largely negative response to that news. Concord probably saw that and thought, oh no, we might have made a mistake. How long is the Switch shelf life now? 7 years. Next year we're supposed to get the Switch 2. They pushed the Switch 2 back to next year. They didn't want to have a problem with supply. I think that Nintendo is anticipating a massive amount of demand for the Nintendo Switch 2, and they want to make sure they have enough of them made. I think it's going to be insane. My estimation would be that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to shatter all console sales records of, like, fastest selling opening month, opening week, all of that. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be stupid, and I think they know it. That's why they're like, we got to batten down the hatches. We got to be ready. Demand for this is going to be insane. So it got pushed back to next year. It seemingly was supposed to be announced this year and, released in the fourth quarter around holiday. So this is the last of the Jim Ryan era of live service push. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to lay this at Jim Ryan's feet. I think when all of these studio heads got together and said, let's build live service games, again, 4 or 5 years ago, this probably looked like a winning ticket. This is the challenge of live service. It really is. Astro Candy with 32 months and a member plus. Welcome back. Dave says, so then should people say the same thing about Black Myth? We've had enough Souls games. Listen, Dave, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You can never have enough Souls games, brother. No, but for real. You know what the difference is, Dave? Everybody knows when they buy a game like Black Myth, they know what they're signing up for. Beginning, middle, and an end. Maybe some replay value. Maybe some new game plus. This is supposed to be an ongoing game that you come back to 3 months later. Do you see the difference? Like, I do. I genuinely think you can never have too many Souls games because people are like, I like Souls games. Let me take a crack at your Souls games. Is it any good? How does it feel? And then you know what you're signing up for when you buy Black Myth. You're not like, well, I have to like this game enough to come back to it in 3 months to get my battle pass, bandana and sword. Like, it's just not even the same. Just playing devil's advocate. No, I appreciate the devil's advocate you're playing, Dave, because you know why? It unearths the significant difference between how important genre saturation is for live service. Live service cannot deal with genre saturation as well. Why? Because people have to funnel into your game in order for it to be good. And if that genre becomes saturated, now you're fighting an uphill battle, like a double uphill battle. It's already an uphill battle to launch a live service game. I think it's even twice as hard, if not more, when you choose a genre that is saturated. Hang on, a $5 super chat tip from Street Shadow. I think Concord's success will be determined greatly by Sony's expectation. At the moment, they list it as emerging IP instead of a tentpole IP. Okay, let's make room for that. Guys, by the way, nice turnout. I wasn't sure people were going to vibe with this topic, so thanks for the strong turnout. Smash that like button, though, okay? Every once in a while, I kind of stop and say, hey, hit the like button. Do all the things. That'll help this video out. Also, we have a member goal today. Every 25, I give 5 back. We're going for just 300. We lower the goal at the beginning of the month. So this first week, 300 members. And I got to play Liza P this Friday night. I got to turn it back on, reinstall it, and go back to the boss that whooped my tail. It'll be terrible. I'll be miserable and grumpy, and you guys will love it. So keep it going. Keep the likes going. Keep the members going. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel so much. So on that token, I said on Pure Dead Gaming, if you guys didn't see that episode, Pure Dead Gaming podcast on YouTube, I was just on there, and I said, listen, this game could have fairly low expectations. And I base that off of there were really low expectations for Helldivers 2. Let me turn the timer on. I don't have the scene switcher running. There were really low expectations for Helldivers 2. And it obviously blew those expectations away. On that same token, I could see this game having low expectations. It's a studio of less than 150 people, right? Yeah, Donnie's in chat. There he is. It's a studio of less than 150 people. So their expectations could be, no, this game's not going to last for 10 years, 5 years. It's not even really going to last for 3 years. If it has a 1 to 2 year run, we count that as a win. We're trying to gather data and information. We want to study player behavior. You guys are a small enough studio. Your budget's small enough. We can recoup this cost and have you do something else after this. I'm not kidding you. If you look at the quality of the game, it's there. Firewalk can make a good game. You can feel it. I'm not kidding you. That game's going to feel like Destiny. You mark my words, you're going to boot this game up and say, these guns feel good. They handle well. They feel good. Okay, that's a win for PlayStation if they keep the studio around to build something else. Okay, you've learned your lesson. You've gathered some information. I'm not saying that's the case. This isn't like, oh, look at this pony coping. Like, it's like, no, I genuinely think this game could have very low expectations. Small studios, small budget, they can recoup costs fairly easily. And I got a $2 super chat from Jay Hart. Many wanted a single-player game after the trailer. 3 gifted members from Stone Spire, the man himself. He slow walks it all the way to 5. He's trying to bait one of the big boys to drop a 20 bomb. I appreciate you so much for saying that, or for doing that, Stone Spire. Mash says, my response would be cut dev cycle duration and release in early access. Reception for early access issues seem to be minor, and you can fix along and retain players than have an official release. Yeah, in general, I think games like this would be better suited by early access. 100%. 100%. You'd have dropped it, and people would have been like, yes, no, maybe, bad, good, awful, and you can adjust the game accordingly. You know, maybe slowly, completely reinvent the game over time. Wayfinder did that recently, did they not? Didn't they, like, completely change the direction of the game based on what everybody had been saying in early access? I've been preaching from the early access Bible for a while. I'm like, I think you guys underestimate just how difficult it is to change the direction of a game. They're like aircraft carriers. This game was scoped out, sketched out, and they've been building it for 4 years. And in the last couple of years, maybe only in the last year, everybody's decided, we've had enough hero shooters. Please no more. And these guys are probably thinking, well, what the frick? This was popular 4 or 5 years, and a 20 bomb from MASH. This man continues to carry the member count on his back. He needs a tag team partner. Somebody help this man out, taking us all the way to 25 just like that. The goal for the week is only 300 members. You guys can hit that like it's nothing. Therapy Quantified was dropping so many members last week. Thank you. He puts us to 30. He is the agent of chaos. Now, that's another roll-up, though. He's baiting somebody. Another 20 bomb hits us at the next milestone. You guys could start leapfrogging the milestones thanks to people like Therapy Quantified. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to continue to say that. It's like, if you want to launch a game like this, you should have launched this game 2 years ago in early access. I know that's probably not reasonable for PvP games, though, because of the servers. I don't know the answer there. I just don't know. Because that's really expensive. Like, that's really, really expensive to spin a game like this up in early access. That might be out of the question. I might be asking for something that's unreasonable from a business perspective. They're like, are you freaking kidding me? No. That's way too expensive. Zubair says, I came here to argue market pressures on development and drop 20 bombs, and I'm all out of arguments. Treble says, please help us understand how a game like this takes years to dev. What do you mean? Why would it not? Why would it not take 3 or 4 years to develop? You understand that the guys that are on this team from Bungie left Bungie in 2019. This game's been maybe in development for 4 years. That's a pretty good development cycle. You also have to consider, Treble, in those 4 years, 2020 and 2021 are included. The weekly cinematics aren't cheap. It'll definitely launch at 70, knowing Sony. If they launch this at 70, you might as well stick a fork in it when it comes out. Just put a fork in it on the frickin' storefront. This game's done. This game is fork approved. It's cooked. It's done. It's dead on arrival. If they charge $70 for this game, get out of here. It will be deader than dead. It won't even get off the ground. And a 5-bomb from JW takes us to 35. And a 20-bomb from Alex takes us to 55. That's an Agent of Chaos 20-bomb. And look at what you've done. 55 out of 75. Another 20-bomb dangling out there for the taking. Alex tag teams with MASH. We'll see if anybody else wants to enter the ring, if any of the big boys are hiding in the wings. Creature says if it launches at 70, it'll be the fail of the decade. There ain't no way this is more than $40. Ain't no way. If this is more than $40, somebody took a bucket of hubris, got drunk on it, and then climbed in the bucket. That would be the dumbest thing. I'm not telling you you're dumb, Shelly. I'm saying that would be a dumb decision. You quite literally got out a 50-gallon drum, got drunk off the hubris, and then climbed inside of it. Ain't no way. If they charge 70 for this, people will be like, you're crazy. They won't even have a player base in the first week if they did that. That's one heck of a metaphor. I mean, I just came up with it. You grabbed a bucket of hubris, got drunk on it, and climbed inside the bucket. Like, what? $70 for a PvP-only game? That's what I'm saying. We don't even know their monetization strategy. You're curious? I think it'll be like Helldivers. I think it'll be $40. I think they'll use the weekly cinematics to push new things, new characters, new weapons, new something, and then they'll sell cosmetics and a battle pass. That's what I think. Paul says again, a free-to-play game is free to play online, and if you pay for a game and then have to pay to play it, console fail. I mean, it hasn't caused Helldivers to fail. Helldivers is a top-selling game. I don't think that that's genuinely true. Oh, wait. Am I misunderstanding you, Paul? Are you saying if you do free-to-play, but then require the PlayStation Plus to play online? What exactly are you arguing? $100, but it includes battle passes for 1 year. Hilly says, for the weekly cinematics does not make sense if it's a 5v5 hero shooter. Having a few to establish the characters at the start makes sense, but Overwatch did this because they plan to have PvE. If this game has planned PvE, they need to say that. They didn't say if the modes will feature things like CTF or Deathmatch. They have a theme for the game, but lacking substance. This is coming in 2024. They need to delay. Wasn't Overwatch full price at launch? Actually, is that true? That might be true. Or was it 50? Overwatch might have been 50 instead of 60. What was Overwatch's price at launch? That is Blizzard, though. They probably knew they could get away with it. Do you know what I'm saying? When you're Blizzard, I feel like you can get away with it. Helldivers is PvE only, attracts a completely different crowd. Right, but the point is that it defeats your claim if you're claiming that charging for the game and requiring PlayStation Plus to play online will hurt it. It didn't hurt Helldivers. Just because the game's different doesn't mean that it isn't proof against what you were claiming. You're acting like, well, if you charge for the game and then charge to play online, that's going to hurt the game, or that's not going to let people. You're gonna hurt the game's momentum or whatever. I don't disagree that requiring PlayStation Plus can hurt a game's potential momentum. I certainly won't disagree there. Overwatch launching was 40. Yeah, I said 50. Wasn't it like 40 or 50 bucks? Overwatch didn't charge full price. Yeah, the first game was like 40 or 50 bucks. I don't think it was 60. Somebody said it was full price. I was like, was it? I don't remember that. Why should you pay to play it online when your Fortnite or Warzone is free? Oh, okay. No, that's a better argument, Paul. I mean, that's a better argument if you're going to say that in the landscape of live service shooter games, the popular ones are free, and then they therefore don't require PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass Core or Ultimate, right? Like the big free-to-play games don't require an additional platform-level subscription. No, that's a better argument. In the PvP landscape, now I understand why you said Helldivers is PvE. Well, Solemn said that, but you guys are kind of making the same argument. That now I understand why he pointed out that, like, well, Helldivers is PvE. I think that's, that's a fair argument. I think that that's a better argument than the one that I thought you were making. I don't think people that have been on console for a while even think about the fact that they pay for an online subscription, because any of us that play multiplayer games have been doing it for a long time. Except that you don't have to on the big free-to-play ones. Which means there would be a percentage of people in the free-to-play funnel that would then come to a game like this and be like, not only do I have to buy your game, I also then have to pay for a subscription service just to play the game. Shelly says, Helldivers 2 was built on the expectation of 150,000 players across PC and console, according to CCO presentation. So I guess it's possible Concord has a low bar, as you suggested. Yes, I think if you look at Helldivers, the size of that studio and what they expected out of their game, this game might have very similar expectations. That, yeah, if we're in the six figures of concurrent players, we're happy. That's good enough. We'll make enough money, we'll gather enough information and data, we can trickle out content and cinematics and things like that to keep people talking about our game. Because from what I can tell, Firewalk is a really talented studio. What I saw looked good. I was like, you can tell these Destiny guys have still got it. They have that touch. They can make a game that is full of bombast and action. I always liked Hamrick. I never had any issue with him. I thought Wisniewski had some bad ideas. I don't know enough about Jerome. But I always liked Josh Hamrick. I felt like he had good things to say when they were trying to bring the speed and the action back to Destiny. So that jettisoned him out, into this situation, which I think he brought some of that with him. It was like, it's all kind of clattering around in his brain, like what he wanted to do with Destiny. I'm seeing that in this game. I played Lords of the Fallen, but not for very long. It didn't feel very polished to me. Dark Taco with 20 months in a VIP. I don't know why people wanted Concord to be free. It would be riddled with cheaters even more than it's already going to be. I mean, well, yeah, sure. I think $40 makes sense. Hand cannon gameplay was clean. Like, it was Destiny DNA. As soon as you saw that hand cannon going, bow, 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 and it's like coming back down, it's got that almost like trampoline recoil. That's just what comes to my mind. I've never called it that before. Just that boom, 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 boom. We all know that feels great. We all know hand cannons will always be the king of Destiny's weapon pool. It always has and always will. I don't care how strong you make anything. It'll always come back to the hand cannons. They just feel fantastic. The free-to-play games not requiring PS Plus or Xbox Gold is a more recent thing, right? I mean, if you want to call 3 years ago recent, wasn't that in the 2020 era that they did away with that, Solemn? That's been going on for a while. That wasn't like last year. Hasn't always been that way, and a majority of the multiplayer games I play aren't free-to-play. When did they change that? Free-to-play games won't require PS Plus, Xbox Live. When did they change that? That's a Reddit thread. My memory is that was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a PS5 gen thing. 23 game, 3 free games on PlayStation without PS Plus. Do you need PS Plus to play Fall Guys? This was in 2022, so this was 2 years ago. And they said, no, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, you do not need PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold. So as of 2 years ago, you didn't need it, according to that article. Battlefield 2042 Open Beta requires Xbox Live Gold, but not PS Plus. That was also 2 years ago. Sony's new live games need to be free to play and not require PS Plus. This is an opinion piece from 2 years ago. Rocket League won't require PS Plus, Nintendo Switch Online after going free to play. That's 2020. So in 2020, you didn't need it for Fortnite. I'm sorry, Rocket League. Somebody put Fortnite in chat and I read it. You didn't need it for Rocket League 4 years ago. I'm telling you, that's been a while where they're like, some did and some didn't. Oh, so it wasn't all games, Gale. Okay, do you know when they went like platform wide and said free-to-play games don't require it? When did that happen? I don't think it's that recent. I don't think it's like last year or this year. I think it was like somewhere between 2 and 4 years ago when that happened. Because I remember coming out of like the sicky era and like the pandemic, and that was like a big complaint, is like all these really popular free-to-play games, people were like, you need a subscription, and the platforms were like, yeah, not anymore. I thought they did away with it around that time because they were having a surge of activity in all those games because everybody was stuck at home. Yo, Silver Subaru with 40 months and a VIP. Good morning, everyone. Awesome discussion. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Silver Subaru. Let's go and see if there's some comments on this video. Let's go and see. It's off to an okay start. It's off to an okay start. We like to go and read the comments and see what people are saying. It already has over 1,000 views. That's not a terrible start. This guy says here, Jason F says, I have zero interest in these shooters. I'm going to say same, at least after one day. After one day, like, I'll try your game for a day, but then after that, I'm like, I'm good, dude. Hero shooters are just kind of, I don't know. This guy says, they gave the robot pronouns. My pronouns are not buying. LOL. This is hardly what is wrong with this game. Come on. Don't even focus on that. That's not why this issue... I don't know. While I understand the frustration of Concord's reveal, I'm annoyed. This is coming from Next Doc 1851. I believe he's in chat. He says, the term clone can be very reductionist. What is wrong with inspiration? We are now in a situation where there is little competition. As an example, back in the day, GTA had a few quality open-world crime competitors, True Crime, Sleeping Dogs, Saints Row, now next to nothing. Even COD had a few similar competitors like Medal of Honor. My point is that many gamers are being very gatekeepy and mocking games before ever really giving them a chance to complete. COD and Overwatch truly require competition. As we see, Activision Blizzard's complacency and greed shine through with minimal competition. But I'd rather see a return of SOCOM. See, I don't see it as competition. I don't. I see it as a trend chase. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, Overwatch needs competition. Come out with the better hero shooter. No? Why? It just comes across as a trend chase. It's not like, oh yeah, if Overwatch would have had competition, yeah, people are mentioning the pronouns. Whatever. That's just not a concern of mine. That's just so minimal on the Richter scale of why this game is in trouble. It's not that. This game will be about as welcome as crapped pants, this guy says. The character writing from the little I saw cutscene was irritating. I liked it. Wanted a co-op game. I wanted a co-op game, man. I didn't want another PvP game. This guy here, David Smith, is saying, not being free to play, I don't think this goes over well at all. There's no way I would pay for that. Helldivers 2 was 40, but this is going against other free-to-play PvP games. So you're right. I do. I think the minute you step into the PvP pool, you're in a different realm. You really are. Severin Evans left a comment on the video. He says, I have my doubts of this game getting its legs and hitting the ground running. I've been wrong before. We shall see. Indeed. Indeed. Thank you guys so much for leaving comments on the video. It really helps out the video. Patrick Q says, I was trying so hard a while ago to remember the name of Cliffy B's Battle Royale. Thanks for bringing that turd of a game back to memory. Yeah, Radical Heights, baby. People just need to wait and see. This conversation around Helldivers didn't become positive until the last trailer that they dropped. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. People were talking about Helldivers looking pretty good. This guy says oversaturation. If it's not as big of... Oh, see, this guy's disagreeing with me. He says it's not as big of a risk as you think. There are 6 genres that remain incredibly popular in the game-as-service space. One of those genres is team-based PvP. Another one is the co-op shooter. Helldivers 2 and Concord are safe bets based on what gamers actually play. PlayStation is just filling those 6 genres with high-quality, high-effort games on their own. Here is hoping you are right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because I'm not seeing it. True SSJ Havoc with a $5 super chat tip says, it was a console war talking point that free-to-play games needed Xbox Live but not PlayStation Plus. I've seen guys calling it woke too. Yeah, this guy says it's dead because of that. My pronouns are not buying offensive games with offensive pronouns. Oh my gosh. Like, of all of the things that this game might have wrong with it, that's not it. You know what I mean? I have to pick a robot with pronouns? Brr! It's like, dude, who cares? Who cares? It looks like a trend-chasing generic arena shooter. That's the problem. The problem isn't because they decided to put pronouns in the dadgum game. You know, I want all my robots to be an it. The irony of acting like you don't care about pronouns when you seemingly care about them a lot. I wonder if that's a loss on these people. Hilly says, I think if Concord or any game is free to play, it's dead on arrival to me. They are telling me the base game has no value and they don't want any players invested in the game. It does feel like a trend chase. My issue with the Halo Infinite campaign was the open world, clearly trend chase. Right. If they would have gone really, really hard at like curated missions, Hilly, that could be replayed and turned up really strong, like, you know, turned up really, turn the difficulty way up for sure. For sure. I think it would have probably been received better. At least received better by the Halo audience. How else do you know if the robot is male? I think a more important question, Kirk, would be, why does it matter? Like, I agree that it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to know. Like, some of the characters are aliens, right? I really need to know if this alien from another world with different cultural customs, backgrounds, food, their internal organs are probably completely different. Like, we don't even know how they reproduce. They might just like think really hard and suddenly make a baby. We don't understand how any of this works, but I really need him to adopt to the vernacular of 2024 in the West. Like, I get it. Like, why does that even need to be in the game? But I don't agree that it's like a get out the pitchforks, storm the castle, boycott the game, call it woke. Like, I don't really agree with either side on this. It's unneeded. It's just unneeded. Like, you don't need it. And it also isn't that big of a deal that it is in there. Like, people are like, I can't believe this. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. And it also isn't that big of a deal. Like, you didn't need to put it in there. Like, I argue the same point to both sides. Listen, it's not that big of a deal. Calm down. And also, to the developers, it's not that big of a deal. Like, some of the characters are literally aliens. Like, what the frick are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on, folks. Quit modern daying your games. All right, quit it. I'd say robots even more than people need to declare. I got no clues at all. It's all smooth metal. So, what are you? I'm not a kitchen appliance. Like, okay. A 5-spot from Borbor. YouTube streamers, IGN, and others moaned about $70 all pandemic. Now the industry is suffering because of misinformation. Inflation is a reality. I don't think the industry is suffering because of misinformation. I think the gaming community that is engaged on Twitter and YouTube, I think they're going to struggle going forward to know who to trust. You know, that's becoming more difficult. I think that's becoming more difficult. Like, just this morning, like, Nintendo's growing, Nintendo's hiring, Nintendo's doing just fine. I thought the industry was in trouble and exclusives were bad. Like, you keep hearing these talking heads running with narratives and running with dialogue that is not backed by facts, evidence, statistics, or market analysis, but it sounds really good to an angry player base that is upset that their platform's evolving. Right? Like, so it's like, that's where we're headed. I don't think we're headed to like, oh, the industry's in trouble. I think the people that try to get their gaming, the gaming news ecosystem It's just all over the place. To the point that you have people now being like, I mean, Jez Corden was basically like, I'm not a journalist. I've never claimed to be a journalist. And I'm like, I think more people need to say that. I'm not a journalist. I'm a blogger. I write opinion pieces, right? What did I say all last year? A lot of these people that are looked to as journalists, they're quasi-content creators. Instead of making a YouTube video, they're writing a blog. It's their opinion. They're going to use a great headline and a great focus piece of imagery to get you to click. It's just like YouTube. It ain't any different. So I just think more and more people need to see that, like, I think that's where misinformation and false narratives, they're not hurting the industry. I think they're hurting people's ability to get accurate representations of the market. Like accurate depictions of like, okay, what is going on? Where is the industry headed? A 2-spot from David Farias. It only matters if I get bonus to accuracy. Somebody needs to do a Schoolhouse Rock where, you know, they're like, I'm just a bill. And have all the words hanging out together, you know, adjectives and adverbs. Like everybody's just hanging out, having a good time, and do, knock at the door. Party's going, you know, music is going. It's hard to hear. Opens the door, and pronoun walks in, and everyone's like, we were having a great time. Everybody starts fighting. You know, and he's like, I didn't do anything. I just came to the party. I guess I'm just gonna start arguments. Oh gosh. Nintendo's selling more games and Switches than Xbox and PlayStation combined. They're doing their own thing and getting larger. It's not the same on Xbox or PlayStation, giving us mostly the same games in a different skin. I mean, to a certain extent, though, they're proving that model works, and we've been told all this year. Right? We've been told all this year that model can't work, that it's outdated, it's done. Even our boy Thor, right? Pirate Software, even our boy, I like him. Even he said something about exclusives recently, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That leads to stagnation? Are you kidding me? Have you looked at the two market leaders? It's the opposite of stagnation. The platform that completely eroded the idea of exclusives, they're the ones that stagnated. Like, you've got it upside down, mate. You've got it backwards. I read what he said, and I was like, what? I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. Basic market analysis would tell you the opposite is true. I'm telling you, it's an ideology. It's like, oh, exclusives, don't like them. It's like, okay, you don't have to like them, but don't talk about them in the realm of market impact in the opposite of what they actually seemed to do. They seem to do the opposite of that. Nintendo's crushing it, and they've never once felt the pressure to change their model. He's hardcore PC. Yeah, and, love him for that. He's great. He's been very successful, and the dude's got an amazing voice. Not what he said out of context. It was literally a tweet. How's it out of context? How's it out of context? It wasn't a clip. It was his own tweet. Check my last comment. If the console market was dying, I wouldn't be dropping 5 to 10 empty PlayStation 5 boxes into the back of my recycling truck almost every day. That's implying that they're bought quite often. Somebody just the other day was saying they do a lot of in-home installations, and they notice that, like, they see way more PlayStation 5s, and it's like, well, of course you're seeing that. Look at the sales. Look at the sales. Which I think is another reason why Concord is an enormous risk, because PlayStation's in a position of market confidence and dominance, and people trust them. And now they're doing this sign-in stuff with Ragnarok, which is making people feel like, wait, why are you changing the rules? Which won't matter in 2 years. But if at the same time they're coming to market with flops in the realm of live service, I really, really don't think that's a good look. Everybody was doubting their ability to do live service, and Helldivers walked onto the scene and was like, yo, hold my entire keg of beer. Like, we're going to show you that this can be done well. It can work. And on the heels of Helldivers 2, if your next outing is just a trend-chased, hero shooter, well, yeah, that was Trill. Trill said that. Then you're going to make everybody say, yeah, we were right. We were right. Live service is a stupid idea. What are you doing, PlayStation? Why are you doing this? And then Marathon looks like it's headed in a similar direction. Now, I said in the upload, I actually feel that Marathon has a better chance because they seem to be following the formula of what Apex Legends and Valorant have done. Apex Legends and Valorant said, here is an established genre that's really popular. Let's bring the hero shooter to it. So, Apex Legends, they bring the hero shooter to Apex Legends. And then you take the hero shooter and you bring it to Valorant. So Marathon could say, let's take the hero shooter and bring it to Extraction Shooter. Now, again, they're facing a double potential problem, which is extraction shooters are popping up everywhere. It's like every time I turn around, somebody's launching a dadgum extraction shooter. So it's like, okay, you're going to not just be hitting a genre that's already having its gold rush, seemingly, but you're also going to be trying to do a hero shooter. Ooh, boy. You might be able to jump through the ring of fire, but maybe, I don't know. It's another giant risk. A $5 super chat tip from Street Shadow says, why do some PC-focused gamers, not all, not complain about PC-exclusive games, but hate console exclusives? Make it make sense. Well, they don't care. They don't care. Like, if that's what they're truly going to be upset about, I mean, they're not going to take issue with PC exclusives because that quite literally benefits them, and they only care on the other side. I've consistently noticed that. It's not about being consistent. Most positions like that aren't about being consistent. They're not. It's about, I don't like this, so I'm going to rail against it. And that's fine. Like, that's how most opinions are formed. But if you're talking about the health of the industry, if you're talking about how well games do or don't do, exclusives are not like going to work against. They're not going to work against profitability in your aims because companies are proving that it works just fine. I can't even find the tweet. Did he say it plural? He says isolation and forced permanent exclusivity to any platform ends in stagnation. Watching Sony lose players globally through this practice is insane. We're watching the finding out portion in real time. I'm not taking that out of context. He's quite literally saying, if you're going to do forced permanent exclusivity, talking about the console here, to any platform, he's saying it ends in stagnation. That doesn't make any sense. Where's evidence of that? Both Nintendo and PlayStation, that's their model. That's how they've been so successful. Especially Nintendo of all platforms. Nintendo doesn't give you any of their stuff anywhere. You want to play the latest Mario Kart? You want to play Mario Party? You want to play anything with Mario in it? With the exception of, like, I don't even know, a handful of, like, the Mario Rabbids game and maybe a mobile game. Like, you've got to go to them. Like, it's so weird that nobody ever calls foul on Nintendo either. That's what I don't get. It's like, why aren't you barking at Nintendo? I don't get it. It's seemingly only PlayStation. If PlayStation does it, then it's wrong. And no one should do it. And it's going to end in stagnation. The two market leaders are showing you that's not even remotely true. In some ways, Nintendo has stagnated creatively, at least with Pokemon they have. I mean, that would be subjective opinion. He's talking about stagnation in the realm of, like, losing players and economic death. he wasn't talking about the subjective idea of like, oh, they're not creative anymore. I mean, they dropped a Princess Peach game. Their latest Mario game was highly praised. Look at Zelda last year. It was highly praised for its creativity and freedom that was given to the player. That would be your opinion. You can have the opinion that like they've creatively stagnated, but you can't prove that. And I think game sales are heavily in their corner. Now, yeah, if you want to take issue with Pokemon and the quality of that game and all of that, I mean, that's a whole other story. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, Pokemon's not even like one of their first party studios. Don't they just like own the rights to it or something? That's like one of those weird, it's theirs but not theirs situations. That's not even a good example. Their property is always just banging. Their property's banging. Super Mario All-Stars. The one that just came out was like nominated for all kinds of awards. I think Nintendo is cheeks but stagnated. Nah. Yeah, their games do incredibly well commercially, and they're rated, they're critically acclaimed, and they get all kinds of awards. Hey guys, really, really strong turnout today. 700 people are here. That's crazy. Take 2 seconds. Just stop for a second and hit the like button. It'll help me out. We should easily have over 300 likes by now. With 700 people, we should be setting our sights on 400. Let's hit 300 likes. Really strong start to the day. I owe you guys 10 members already. The weekly goal of members is lower now. We always lower it at the beginning of the month, and we build for that final week. 300 members is the goal this week, and I got to go back into Lies of P. We're going to do like, pain games, scary games, and then there's the cutesy games that Creature doesn't want to play, so make sure and check out the Friday night stream. So help us hit that. Help us hit those goals. Somebody tempting a 20 bomb, 55 out of 75, and I owe you more. Are we hitting 40K today? I don't think so. A 2-spot from David Farias. I'd kill for Xenoblade or Fire Emblem on PC. Hey, I would kill to play Zelda on PC. I would. And a 5-bomb from MASH. He says we've been sitting on that 55 for too long, and so he bumps the line up to 60. Thank you so much, MASH. Appreciate you, homie. Yeah, we're not going to hit 40K. Oh, you meant 38. I was like, hey, we don't ever gain that many subs in a day. That's crazy. The big issue with Pokemon is the hardware is so behind it can't do much more with it, but Arceus was highly praised, and that's a very different Pokemon game. Yeah. I mean, and I think this all comes back to the conversation about Concord gameplay. If you want to talk about innovation, if you want to talk about stagnation, I think this is why when a game like this wants to come to market, I think they've got to get it out in front of people way earlier than they do. And a 20 bomb from MASH! What in the world? He says, I don't need a layup. I will lay up my own. And he sets up an 80 out of 100. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's whispering to his tag team partner. We are now 20 members away from 100. Heard the reference to Pirate Software's tweet being taken out of context just for info purposes. I think this is the context the person was referring to. Okay, so Thor says, for context, Helldivers 2 is still not purchasable in 173 regions despite not having PSN as a requirement. Tsushima is a single-player game that only requires PSN multiplayer. It also is not purchasable in 172 regions now. God of War Ragnarok will get the same treatment. All of the banned purchased regions cannot have PSN accounts. If this decision made sense economically, at least I would understand, but this is just bad business. Sony is allergic to money. Well, number one, he's not thinking big picture. He's not zoomed out enough to know why PlayStation would be trying to establish a larger ecosystem, which is they're not just solely interested in selling games on PlayStation. They're interested in growing their user base. And growing your user base is as valuable, if not more valuable, than just selling games. I would think he would understand that. Secondly, he's not proving what he claimed. He isn't. To claim that isolation and exclusivity leads to stagnation, PlayStation and Nintendo didn't budge on this as Xbox did, and they're the market leaders. You will never convince me that, like, oh yeah, it's going to lead to stagnation as Nintendo dominates using quite literally that business plan. Same with PlayStation. Their most profitable PlayStation generation ever, and they're employing that strategy. He's literally, demonstrably, and objectively wrong. He's incorrect. He's not correct. And citing the fact that there are regions that can't buy PlayStation games on PC, I am frustrated by that. As a fan of Tsushima, as a fan of God of War, I don't like it. I called it stupid the other day. However, to pretend there's no business impetus for PlayStation to do that, I believe is too narrowly sighted. There quite literally has to be a business impetus for a company that size to limit the reach of their games. And they view, within their own business priority triage, they view growing their PSN user base, that's more important than just selling a couple 100,000 more, not even a couple hundred, selling thousands of more copies of Tsushima and God of War Ragnarok. I don't have to agree with PlayStation doing it, but I can understand intellectually from a business perspective why they would say this is more important than selling Tsushima in those countries. Selling Ragnarok and Tsushima in those countries would, yes, it would net them more sales, but their business priority triage is saying, no, we need more PSN users. We're trying to grow our user base. We're trying to get people to come over here from PC. They saw people do it with God of War 2018 buying PlayStation 5s for Ragnarok. Everybody wants to mock this on Twitter, and it's the same people every time. PlayStation doesn't know what they're doing. Best-selling accessory. PlayStation's incredibly stupid. They're in trouble. They're going to have to change. This is the most successful PlayStation generation that we've ever had. How many times are you going to listen to the people that are wrong? It's like they're in the business of being wrong. And now they're sitting here saying, well, nobody's going to buy a PlayStation 5 if they're a PC gamer, completely ignoring the fact that a huge portion of the PC audience is not on a top-level rig and will inevitably play games like Ghost of Tsushima or God of War Ragnarok and have very mid-level performance. And if they could buy a console for $500 or $600 and get the same or better performance, that is a compelling offer, especially when they've been convinced, or in this case, coerced, to make a PlayStation account. They already have trophies. They already have records. They already have an account. They're in the ecosystem. It's way easier to come over. It's like, yeah, your trophies are going to come with you. That's what they're doing. That's what PlayStation is doing. They're quite literally market leader in this version of console. They're not beating Nintendo, but they're beating anybody that wants to do next-gen console gaming. Like, they're it. They've become the de facto console. And people want to be like, they don't know what they're doing. Do you think people are going to go from PC to console? They already have. We know people. We're not a very big community. We're not a very big community. We have 3 people, maybe more, in our community that literally, they bought a PlayStation 5 because they had to play Ragnarok. They didn't want to wait. Hang on. I got to thank somebody. A $10 super chat tip from Bushin Ryu Cat. Welcome back, Lono. Sony uses Steam to build a PC consumer base. Xbox full in with Game Pass. 100 PC handhelds. Bottom line, PC Master Race survives. Last hope for consoles survive. 4K Blu-ray drives. I don't understand that. That read like a string of like random thoughts. I don't understand what you're saying. 81 members on the day. Thank you, Bush and Ryucat, for gifting another member. It isn't compelling at all. Okay, it isn't compelling to you, but do you honestly think there are so many people on Steam? There are so many users on Steam. You honestly think that the percentage of people that will move is 0? You think it's a 0? What percentage do you think it is? It's not a 0. You know it's not a 0. What percentage is it? Be careful now. Be careful. There's a lot of people on Steam. There's a whole lot of people on Steam. There's a whole lot of people with PCs that are just strong enough to play Among Us. There's a lot of people in that bucket. So what percentage of the Steam user base is just completely unwilling to buy a PlayStation, and what percentage would be willing to do it? What's the number? Because Tom Warren from The Verge did a poll about this, and like 22% of the people who took the poll said they'd be willing to buy a PlayStation 5. Do you have any idea if that's, let's just say that's an accurate representation. Let's say it's not. Just cut it in half. And let's just say 10%. Let's say 10% of the people who bought Ghost of Tsushima would be willing to buy a PlayStation so they could play Ghost of Tsushima 2. Let's just say 10% of the people who bought Ghost of Tsushima would be willing to do that. That's a lot of freaking people, bro. That's a lot of console sales. And that's off of one game. I know what Stone Spires is going to do. He's going to do 4 gifteds to 85. He's going to take us to 85. Thank you so much, Stone Spire. He's done 2 singles already. This man's asking for a tag team partner. He's like, get your 5 bombs ready. He's like, let's 5 bomb it up to 100. Like 20%. Whether it's 10% or 20%, nobody's seeing the bigger picture. They're like, well, I have a $3,000 rig. I would never do that. And it's like, you're the minority in the PC gaming world. You're like the smallest percentage of PC gamers. You watch YouTube videos, you take your computer apart, you overclock it, you watch YouTube videos and hang out in forums and Twitter spaces about this. You are quite literally the 1% of the user base. Who cares if you're not going to buy it? You're not even their target audience. You're not even their target audience. You own a Lamborghini and you're talking about why you won't buy clothes at Walmart. Like you're not the target audience. You think companies that target certain sectors of the market are like, oh no, like these people won't buy our thing? They don't even care. You typing that tweet, they're like, who are you? Who are you? Joker Quinn takes it to 86, and Lone Wolf takes it to 91. We're going to have to come up with a stretch goal this week. You guys are going to crush it, and I'm going to have to do something when I play Liza P. I don't even know what it was. I do owe you guys a onesie, though. I couldn't find it that night. I got to find it. I owe you that. I'll make good on it. I couldn't find the dadgum thing. Once Sony knows a lot of people will buy their PC games, leave Steam with their own launcher. I mean, that's another theory that's been floated around for sure. For sure. PC is a secondary market for Sony. They are never going to be the PlayStation primary market, and the intent is not conversion, it's adoption. Correct. That's exactly right. They don't care about just selling you the game. Oh, snap. I didn't realize there were guys in the community that bought a PS5 just to play God of War. It's a great game. Yes, we've had people do that. And like I said, we're a pretty heavily invested share of the market. Like, these are heavily informed people. They have pretty nice PCs for the most part when they share their stuff in our Discord. And these are people that are doing that. See, everybody's misunderstanding. Like, they don't even approach Sony with a business understanding of, like, what Sony's doing. And they're like, well, that's stupid. And it's like, you don't even understand their goal. You don't understand their aim. You think you know what's going on, and you don't. It's like that scene in Lost where Jacob looks at Benjamin Linus and he's like, what about you? It's like all these 1%ers that are like, oh, I would never do that. And PlayStation's like, what about you? No one cares about you. You think we're targeting you? You think we're trying to get somebody who's dropped a couple grand on their PC to buy our console? No. There's a ton of people in the PC user base, a ton, that are on like cards weaker than my 2080. If you go like 2080 and down, it's a huge chunk. And PS5 Pro could walk out and say, hey, you can play Ghost of Tsushima 2 at 4K 60. And I'm thinking, what? I don't play games at 4K 60, and I've got a 2080 Ti. What do you mean? Like, even if it's not 4K 60, if it's got ray tracing and it's 1440 60, do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's really compelling to somebody running like a 1600 series card or something. Like, somebody's gonna look at it and say, that's way cheaper than me upgrading my PC. No one's thinking about that. Everybody's just thinking about like, well, I've invested $3,000. I would never do that. And it's like, well, that's perfectly fine. You're not the target audience. Yeah, I saw Lost is coming back to Netflix. We have to go back. It was the perfect advertisement. We have to go back, Kate! Any day with a Lost reference is a good day. That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. It's like he completely puts him in his place with a question. It was well written, well acted. Like, what about you? Like, we're a little off topic, as Shelly has indicated, but we're talking about a PlayStation game. So talking about PlayStation strategy, I think is applicable. They have a live service strategy. I think this game, Concord, is a massive risk. I think they're going to regret it. You know, I do. I think they're going to. I think that. Well, hang on. It's a big risk, but it may not end up turning out to be something that they regret. We quite literally, in similar fashion, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. In similar fashion that I'm saying people don't understand PlayStation's PC strategy. We might not understand their live service strategy. We quite literally might have it backwards, that they're like, oh, no, you misunderstand. Look at the studios we're having do live service games. Arrowhead, Firewalk, and then a portion of Bungie is working on Marathon. Their cash cow's Destiny. So if you really analyze what they're doing, that to me sounds like low risk, potential break-even games. Like ROI just breaks even. They're like, okay, good job. You didn't go in the red. We'll fund the next project. You learned some good lessons. You've got good data. You've got good intel and good info. We got a better beat on the market now. These could be incredibly low-risk games in Sony's mind. Like, Helldivers expected to get into like the 100,000s of concurrent players. And, 5 months later, they finally dipped below that. Just on Steam, by the way. So, that's not including the PlayStation numbers. So these could quite literally be like low-risk games. Like, they might not even care if Concord's dead in a year. It's not its purpose. Its purpose is not to be a forever game. Its purpose is to be, it's a test. It's a test run. You're a small studio. You guys can build a good game. Let's keep it contained. Let's keep budget costs down. All right, here we go. Now, somebody did make a good point that the cinematics are going to be expensive, so that could potentially pose a problem. Helldivers 2 funding a few games. Supremacy with the $10 super chat tip says, all the hate Concord is getting has actually got me thinking of investing in that game. The group thinking is what I find most mediocre. By the way, Spider-Man 2 sold through 11 million, so it means it's covered its budget. Yeah, Spider-Man 2, its lifetime sales are going to be ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, especially once it hits PC. This guy says not touching this one with a 10-foot pole. Roadkill says, I'll pay $50 if it looks very polished. Hope it comes out. I bet it's $40. Where do you guys think they're going to price Concord? I think it's going to be about $40. I don't know. 50 seems high. You skip cinematics to play the game? Well, they're doing a weekly cinematics they're doing like a weekly cinematic. To me, I think that's well stated. That's kind of expensive. That was a high level cinematic. It looked great. People are like, oh, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, sure. It's definitely influenced by that, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Ben says full price. Mediocre Milton says full price. Dylan Butler. A lot of you guys think it's going to be a full price game? Hey, I'm telling you. You got stones the size of Mount Everest if you charge full price for this dadgum game. There ain't no way. Ginger Prime with 33 months. Happy Monday. $40 sounds like the right price. A great price point for a live service. Thank you so much, Ginger. Did you say Concord Beta is coming at the same time? I said around the same time. Around the same time. Because you can pre-order Concord in June. The Marvel Rivals Beta is in July. Track with me here. Concord releases in August, does it not? Where do you think their beta is going to be? If I'm Concord, I would be doing everything I could to get the beta out before Marvel Rivals, before their beta hits PS5. I think it needs to land in June. If Concord has a prayer of not getting overshadowed, it would be, you better put your beta in June. You put it in July, you better be out before Rivals. Everybody's like, they're not the same. Rivals isn't the shooter. I'm telling you, you have got to think about this from a player-based perspective. Players that are drawn to these types of games. Marvel Rivals is going to be huge, at least for a little while. It doesn't mean it's going to last, but Marvel Rivals being free and being Marvel, I don't know, man. That's a big, big problem if both betas are available at the exact same time. The Overwatch beta, many people said that killed Battleborn. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue that Overwatch didn't really... It certainly helped with the diminished interest in Battleborn. I don't think it was the only reason. But... A $5 super chat tip from Supremacy 101. Concord is rare in that it's a game that has garnered so much hate before anyone has had a chance to even play it. I want it to succeed just because of the hate. I mean, I don't think that certainly some of the hate's unwarranted, and it's just people who are chasing, ironically enough, as far as like, oh, this game is chasing a trend. Yeah, well, so are all you people that don't even care about the game, but you mindlessly went to give it a downvote, right? Let's call a spade a spade. But I actually think some of the criticism and some of the frustration is warranted. It's like, really? This is what y'all been working on? A game that has literal one-to-one animations, almost exactly one-to-one animations from Destiny, maps that are very much inspired by Destiny, shooting that's very inspired by Destiny, and you threw in a dash of Overwatch abilities. Okay. Like, I'm not saying that's the most charitable read on the game, but I totally get why people are saying that, because I don't feel like they positioned this game very well. I don't feel like they did. Donnie says the issue with the beta for Concord is that you need to pre-order the game to get access. Another really just not good idea. Wow. Hey, are you unsure about this 5v5 hero shooter? Well, don't worry. You can try it out in a beta. All you have to do is pay for the game ahead of time. Huh? But you get 5 free codes? Yeah, because everybody's going to ask one friend to bite the bullet because they don't want to. Like, all right, who's got the most money in our friend group? Is it Jeff? Okay, Jeff, you're buying the game. Sorry, bud. It's you. You got to buy it. And then we're getting the codes because we're not buying this thing. This thing could be terrible. So, sorry, Jeff. You're actually working. We're not. Come on, dude. Come on. You can do it. Like, that's what people are going to do. They're going to pick the wealthiest person in their group to buy it. Everybody else is going to be hands off. Like, dude, I'm trying to save some money, man. There's some big games coming. And again, you're competing with monolithic free-to-play games. You're competing with a free-to-play beta from a Marvel game. I'm telling you, Concord's got a lot stacked against it. It does. Is there a physical version? No idea. Probably not. Oh, there is? I was just going to assume there wouldn't be, but I guess Helldivers did a physical version. If you pre-order a physical version, you get the beta codes and a refund. Oh, right, because you could basically just like take it back to the store as long as it's still in the saran wrap, right? And get a full refund. That's some extra steps, but that certainly protects you as the consumer. Like if you play the beta and you're like, oh, I didn't like this. You think Sony will push for future live service games to hit Xbox and maybe Switch day one down the road? Depends on the game. Depends on the game and the studio. Like if the Nintendo Switch 2 is in a good spot with performance-wise, I could see them considering it, like with a game like Fall Guys, right? Like, why would you not put Fall Guys on Nintendo? However, it also depends on the developer. Suddenly asking a developer to build their game for the PlayStation 5 and PC, and the Switch too, and the Xbox. It just depends on the studio. Like, Firewalk's 150 people. So, extending the scope of the game out like that when you don't even know if the game's going to work or not, I don't think so. I think day and date from live service from PlayStation, based on what we've seen, like, look at Helldivers 2 and their expectations for the player base. I think this game's in a similar spot. I don't think they expect hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to play Concord, but if they can get a decent concurrent player pool, good money, recoup cost, get some information, some data, some player analysis, and some player behavior intel, well, that's worth money, and that's more valuable than, well, we also launched the game on the Switch and the Xbox. Well, who cares if you don't actually have confidence that the game's going to last more than a year? What difference does it make? Do you understand? Like, I think we could be misunderstanding Sony's aims with these games. Like, they may not be thinking, we need this to be generating millions of dollars a year, and we need the game to last for 7 to 10 years. They may be like, well, no, if you get through 18 months, that's good enough for us, especially if you recoup cost. We'll just, basically what they're going to do is this live center service for excellence, they're just going to amass just tons of data, just stack it up, so that as they build games, they can reference it. Here's everything we learned from Bungie's Destiny that's been around for 10 years. Here's everything we learned from Helldivers 2. Here's everything we learned from Concord. Concord flopped after 7 months. Yep, that's valuable information. I've always said, people are like, Bungie has no right to teach people how to do live service. I'm like, if Bungie's gone through years where they almost failed, and even now as they're potentially facing EOL of Destiny 2 and lower player interest, that's valuable information. That's worth its weight in gold. If you can sort of know, well, this is what live service success looks like. It's rocky. It's scary. These were the darkest times. These were the best times, right? I'm not trying to quote Shakespeare, but you know what I'm saying? Or wait, is that Shakespeare or Tale of Two Cities? That's Tale of Two Cities, isn't it? Anyway, another super chat tip from Bushin Ryu Cat says, Overwatch is Xbox owned, right? Activision? Concord is Sony exclusive. Do you see Overwatch and Concord rival starting? I don't think anybody wants that. I mean, maybe, but I think that'd be a mistake. Alapark with 22 months in a VIP. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but Sony bought Firewalk because of this game. Development had already started. Details of price weren't disclosed, but that seems like a big bet. Sony bought Firewalk because of this game. They were founded in 2018. They were acquired in 22 or 21. So you think PlayStation took a look at this game and thought, we want that? I don't know. Again, if they're trying to gather information, they're trying to gather data, if they're like, hey, we need a better understanding of this thing called live service, these guys are building a game that seems like, it seems like it's got a shot. It seems like people might play it. I mean, I don't know. It depends because, again, in 2021, this game might have looked more promising than it does now. Like, you can't gauge how fast the community's going to move from something. Eugene's got a quote here. We built Firewalk to deliver awesome multiplayer games, and we're excited to get Concord in your hands. Beginning next week, we'll share more details about Concord editions for PS5 and PC and launch pre-orders, which will give you and 4 friends early access to our beta later this summer. You don't say this unless you have an open beta later. Oh, you think they're going to do an open beta? PlayStation acquires Firewalk Studios, which is building an original AAA multiplayer game. That was last year. April of last year? So PlayStation grabbed these guys in the late stages of that game's development. You think Concord has a ton of potential? Here's the thing, though. I keep coming back to this, Corey. I keep coming back to this. What is going to make people come back after a month? Like, what? It's just 5v5 arena. Like, what are you doing? I think the industry is just, we've played so much. Your core audience, the primary core audience that would keep a game like this going, has spent years playing Overwatch. And I guess you would hope that the gunplay-focused style would keep them around. I mean, I just don't know. I am not going out here and saying it's going to flop. I'm like, this is incredibly risky. This is the kind of game that a month later, everyone's like, yeah, that thing's dead in the water. Haseo with 30 months of a membership and it's a VIP. Should this game have been postponed to where it could have been brought back? Could have brought back the hero shooter after some time. Well, I mean, that's a difficult thing to do from a business strategy, Haseo. Like, I get where you're coming from. You're like, well, hey, couldn't they just not launch it and wait, let the hero shooter genre kind of die out and then bring it out? That's not really financially viable. You've invested this money. You've spent all this time building it. You got to ship the game. You got to ship or get off the pot, right? You can't just sit there and be like, well, we'll wait for the prime time to release it. Like what you're saying in total, on paper, no economic impact theory, yeah, maybe. But even then, that's a risk because the hero shooter could be even more saturated in 4 years as maybe a couple other games break out. You know, maybe Marathon breaks out and says, hey, this is exactly what the extraction shooter needed. You know, Apex brought hero shooter to Battle Royale. Valorant brought hero shooter to the tactical shooter. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that would be a good idea. AOZ says the secret to live service is its infrastructure for bringing live content in rapid succession. Corey says, what makes people keep coming back to Valorant, which is actually a more appropriate comparison to Concord? 5v5 arena shooter, not completely unattractive. Gameplay will dictate whether it lives or dies. Okay, I'm gonna take your pushback. I think it's a good pushback. Guys, do me a favor and smash the like button. We're not done, by the way. In about 30 minutes, I'll be doing a show with Kirk, and we're gonna be talking about why Silent Hill 2 looks rough. So make sure you're here for that. Okay. Valorant tapped into a genre that is massively populated and almost not at all saturated with other games. Right? For over a decade, it's like, well, yeah, it's basically CSGO. Like, if you want to play tactical shooter with Econ, you're going to play CSGO. Now, you got Rainbow Six Siege. They had their resurgence, and that would be considered a tactical shooter with very quick time to kill. But in general, Valorant came to a landscape that was not all that saturated, okay? Secondly, it's coming from Riot. So you're coming from a company, it was kind of like when Blizzard brought Overwatch to the market. It's like, it's not just Overwatch that got people's confidence. Blizzard also, at the time, was in a better place with respect to like public opinion, okay? So Valorant has a lot going for it. Number one, the market's not that saturated of the type of game that it's bringing. Yeah, it also came out 4 years ago. You have to consider that. We said that, right? We said, well, this studio seemingly, formed in 2018. You get the three guys from Bungie in 2019. That's likely when they start scoping out this, the aims of this project. And at the time, 2019, 2020, this was a hot ticket way to make your game. Valorant took off. I think Valorant was more successful than a lot of people even anticipated. So it came after years after CSGO. Right. It wasn't like, oh, it's been, well, I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, like Overwatch is pretty old at this point. It's pretty old at this point. Exactly why people are excited for Marathon. Yeah, I keep saying I think Marathon has a better shot because it's coming to the extraction shooter genre, which is currently having what I feel like is the early rumblings of a gold rush. I feel like I've turned around on a handful of games and I'm like, extraction shooter, extraction shooter, extraction shooter. Like, there's a handful of extraction shooters coming to market. And so I feel like, oh, that has all the markings of a gold rush. A bunch of games have set their sights on the extraction shooter because, Tarkov was kind of having a moment. And then the DMZ wasn't that popular in Call of Duty. If it was, they would have kept it going. So that fizzled out. But point being, the early rumblings of an extraction shooter gold rush seems to be happening. It seems like a lot of studios have set their sights on extraction shooter, and all of a sudden, boom, they're all going to hit the market. Same thing happened with Battle Royale, right? It was a little bit different because like Battle Royale was growing in popularity because of H1 and PUBG, and then Fortnite hits the scene, and everybody doubts it, makes fun of it, and it becomes one of the most played games in the world, just like that. Well, what that did was everybody said, we can do that. Are you kidding me? We have the engine, we have the tool sets, we have the ability, we can do what Fortnite just did, and they all went gold rush. They just rushed in. And dead. Tons of dead battle royales. They just don't even make it. 2 of them were attached to long-standing franchises. There was a Ghost Recon battle royale, and there was a Fallout 76 battle royale. Right? So, you could see that happening with extraction shooters. Like, by the time Marathon gets here, it could be standing up against a handful of others. So, Concord, in similar fashion, is coming to a market that's like, okay, this is just a thing people have done. We're kind of over it. We've kind of moved on. Like another hero shooter. Not just another hero shooter, but it's a hero arena. It's like, well, yeah, Overwatch has been around for a while. What makes your game so special? And Eugene's pushback has been, it has a heavier focus on gunplay. And he's not wrong. It definitely has that Destiny DNA stamped right on it. When you got, Jerome and Wisniewski and Hamrick, it's not surprising that those three boys brought the Destiny DNA with them. Not surprising at all. But I don't think that means that the game has legs. It's like, I've always said the question for a live service game is not, is the game fun? It's, why am I going to come back? And I'll say this, if there are people that understand the psychological approach to getting people to come back to a live service game, it would be people from Bungie, from the Destiny team. So it's possible these guys have cooked up a really, really creative way to keep people coming back. Shelly says, I think you're underestimating the PlayStation user base. They had Overwatch 2, but I don't know that they've had much else outside of Apex and Overwatch. Rivals is not out yet. Valorant is PC only. Concord has access to more users. That's fair pushback. Allow me to retort. PlayStation has a unique problem in this particular arena. 48% of the people who buy Call of Duty buy it on their platform. So people that want to play a shooter, people that want to play a live service shooter game, they have a home, and half of those people are still on PlayStation 4. Okay, so that's a unique problem for PlayStation. It's like you're bringing something to market, and your pushback's totally fair, Shelly. It's like, a lot of these games like Valorant and stuff, like Valorant's PC only. Overwatch has kind of been here and gone. People aren't all that happy with it. This game could stand to get a bunch of new players. Maybe. That still doesn't answer the question as to why somebody's going to play the game a month later. Gameplay, gunplay is king, says Corey. If they can nail fun, addictive gameplay and gunplay, they'll have a community. And without PvE constraints for content, these former Bungie and COD devs could be hooked pretty easily. But if it's just 5v5 arena, why? I don't hear an answer to why I'm going to come back a month later. Oh, the gunplay's good. Okay. Gunplay's good in Call of Duty. Gunplay's good in Apex. Those are free. What else you got? Like, I think one of the things that made Destiny so successful was that it launched in a drought. There was almost nothing else to play. There was a lot of confidence in Bungie coming off of Halo. The shooting felt good, and they were slowly able to build out the game and give you, you know, things to do. And then Taken King was credited with, like, saving the game, basically. Vault of Glass is probably what kept the game alive, but Taken King is what ultimately set the game on a trajectory that let it live till today. Like, it wouldn't have made it without the Taken King, which is one of the reasons Luke Smith is so prominent in the game, in the company, because he was sort of the one behind the Taken King. And so I think internally he's kind of credited with saving the game. At some level, he's credited with saving the game. Whether you like him or not, that's kind of the history there. So, as far as like why Destiny worked, though, if you just dropped Destiny today as it originally launched, dead on arrival. Dead. Nobody would play it. Nobody. They'd play for 2 weeks and say, this is stupid, and they'd move on. If Destiny 1 or 2 dropped right now in their vanilla state, they'd be dead a month later. Nobody give them the time of day. They'd be like, what the frick is this trash? What is this? Like, the unique, organic thing that let that game launch and survive and against all odds somehow keep it going, it wouldn't work now. I can't even think, like, Bungie is a very drunk on hubris company. They think very highly of themselves. I don't even think they would disagree with me. I don't even think they disagree with me. They're like, no, yeah, if we drop the vanilla version of D1 or D2 right now, dead. It wouldn't make it. Too many games. There's way too many games now. What other World of Warcraft first-person shooter is there? I don't know. Can you name one? Because Destiny isn't one. Do you remember vanilla Destiny 1, bro? It wasn't World of Warcraft shooter. There was nothing. It was empty. There was nothing to do. It had nothing in it, bro. Oh, Orc Lord with 4 months says, I've been playing Titanfall 2 since 2016. If a game is fun, it'll live long. You think your ability to play Titanfall 2 for a long time means anything in the discussion? Who else is playing Titanfall 2 right now? Destiny gunplay still hasn't been beat. COD is not better. If Concord shooting has the same feel, then I'm good. PvP and PvE in Destiny suck at balance because they're not separate. Obviously not vanilla. But that's what I said. I said if you dropped vanilla Destiny 1 right now, it would be dead a month later. Everybody been like, this is garbage. This is an empty, half-baked, incomplete, soulless game. It survived because, like, there was nothing else to play at the time. That's why it survived. You can't, and that's what people do, is like they look at Destiny and they're like, well, Destiny's made it all this time, and it's because the shooting feels really good. There's so much more to that situation. If the shooting and the movement and the combat feels good in Concord, it needs more than that to survive. That's the point that I'm making. I don't think that's enough to keep a game going anymore. You've got to have there's a secret sauce, there's a hook. This thing going on, and you can't really, you couldn't really put your finger on what was happening with Helldivers those first 2 to 3 months, right? It's obviously declined. That's normal. That's not like, oh, I can't believe it's happening. Like, Helldivers is fine. They sold so many dadgum copies. They're fine. But the point is that even as popular as that game is, it ran out of steam. Hilly Hijinks with 40 and the VIP. I just want a game to come out where I get chained to you and become an anchor once more. Well, you'll have your wish this month, Hilly. When are we doing that? We picked the date, didn't we? Agreed. Also, Concord isn't a looter shooter. Okay. So, it's literally just a hero shooter. It's literally just 5v5 arena. Like, that always gets boring. It always gets old. It's a meat grinder. It's a meat grinder. Like, why are you going to come back and play Concord 1 to 2 months later? Well, we have cinematics, or we have a new character. Okay. It's just a 5v5 hero arena shooter. Like, what? Now, they had language somewhere that made it sound like anytime you jump in the game, it's different or something. So there's a possibility that they've created something that really, like, fleshes out into dynamic, emergent gameplay, and it manages to make the game feel fresh and fun. Did Bushin Ryukat say Destiny, the community is not toxic? Destiny shooting and upgrade elements feels so good, so organic, and the community is non-toxic? Come on. You're joking, right? That community is so toxic, their community team took like 2 months off and wouldn't engage with the community. And then they all got fired because it was like, well, we don't want to do our jobs because people are mean. The Destiny community isn't toxic. That's a good one. They're good to you? I mean, if you're only engaging in-game, yeah, probably. The minute you get on Reddit or Twitter, or the minute you engage with the content creators, probably one of the worst communities I think I've ever encountered in my life. Like, it's like the devil. Destiny community. They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad, bro. Oh, gosh. In any case, I always look at arena shooters and I just think the scope of the game is too small to be compelling after a couple of months. There's just nothing there. The Destiny player community doesn't equal the Destiny streamer community. It's not even the Destiny streamer community. I would say like the Destiny, what we could say online to like draw a distinction. The people that just play Destiny are usually fine. The online community, if they're on Reddit, Twitter, if they watch YouTube, or they're watching people on the purple platform. Ooh. What makes people log into Destiny every week for trials? Addictive gameplay, gunplay loop, and new characters and skins will build a solid community. You're making a fatal mistake, Corey. You're doing that thing that I just told people you can't do. You can't look at Destiny and reduce it down to what you've just done. That is so reductionistic. A decade-old game. Well, why do people keep logging back in after a decade of playing, and sunk cost fallacy and a history and a community, and it's practically a habit at this point? Well, it's the addictive gameplay gunplay loop. So if your game can do that, your game can make it. That is so simplistic. That's so simplistic. Also, why are there game modes and why are there pieces of content in Destiny that fail miserably? Why is the gunplay and the gameplay loop, why is it not enough to overshadow really, really crappy modes and things that people don't like and things that aren't fun? Why? Because gameplay and gunplay can only take you so far. You need a game or a mode or something. It has to be fun. And when I look at Concord, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks fun, but where's the staying power? Again, beyond being a 5v5 arena hero shooter, what are you doing? What's your compelling offer? Like, you have to remember who you're talking to, okay? I'm like the live service guy. I talk about how it can work and how it won't work. And I look at live service games and I break down their systems and I talk about player incentivization and player loops and the psychology of the player. And with Destiny, I always told people, I'm like, this is what people are going to do. And then they would do it. This is how people are going to react to this content. And then they would do it. And when I look at Concord, I'm like, okay, I'm famous for saying If your answer to why will people play your game are purely technical answers, your game will die. If you don't have psychological answers, your game is dead already. You just haven't made the pronouncement. It's on the table, boop, it's coded, and you just haven't called it yet. If you don't have psychological answers and deeply thoughtful ways of like, this is why people are going to keep coming back, your game's already dead. Kill the Justice League is a perfect example of this. All they had were technical answers. Well, why are people going to keep coming back and playing your game? We're going to add content. We're going to have new characters. They at a technical level, they built everything with elasticity and replayability. Everything could be repurposed. Everything could be reused. Everything could be restructured in a way to create longevity for the game. It was all technical. It was like, none of this answers the psychological aspects of like, well, why would I come back and play this game? Why am I invested? Why do I care? Helldivers 2 has answers to those questions. They created a cinematic experience with emergent gameplay that's memorable, and you write your own story most games, and it's hilarious and fun. There is a viral element to the Galactic War Table. There's an element of, well, I've got to know what's going on. I can't stop. Oh, I've got to log back in. I got to see. I got to help my teammates. Like, they created something that's like, it's laden with identity. It's like, well, I like fighting the bots. I like fighting the robots. Like, they created all these little psychological hooks. It's not just... If all Helldivers had as an answer was we have new war bonds every 30 days, I'd be like, yeah, so the frick what? Every game can do that. Every game can have a battle pass. Good for you. What else you got? Even that's running out of steam, is it not? They were doing a new war bond every month, and even that has run out of steam. It's unavoidable. And when I look at Concord, I'm like, I was waiting. I think the psychological answers are the maps, the modes, the heroes, CG trailers that Concord promises. It doesn't have PvE like Destiny. Maps, modes, heroes are all technical answers. The CG trailer might have like a psychological element to it to make you become invested as a player. Maybe. If anybody's saying Helldivers 2 needs PvP, they quite literally have no idea what they're talking about. Anytime a game's not doing well and someone's like, well, it needs PvP, I just feel like they have a fundamental misunderstanding of why games live and die, and that's not what makes a game live or die. They're probably the same people that think like Trials of Osiris kept Destiny alive. Okay. Let's look at Helldivers 2. When your game is limited in scope, there has to be a compelling reason to keep coming back. You want to talk about limited in scope. On Helldivers, I can go to these planets. They're like big, they're different, it's emergent. It's like all this crazy stuff's happening. A 5v5 arena game? I don't care how many maps you have. That's so limited in scope from the very beginning. You're describing what I mean by addictive gameplay loop. Concord can create an addictive gameplay loop. We haven't really seen the gameplay loop. We only see the basics of gameplay. Is there evidence right now of more stripped down arena gameplay being successful? Can you point to games that are doing it well? Can you? I feel like stripped down 5v5 arena style gameplay, even Call of Duty is struggling to get people to play that more than as much or even in good numbers compared to like Battle Royale. It's a meat grinder, bro. I'm telling you. There is a reason that Battle Royale has outlived and has gone way further than people thought that it could compared to 6v6 or 5v5 arena style combat. Valorant and Rocket League, but Valorant is econ based. It's tactical shooter based. It's not fast paced arena style where you're just dying, living, dying, living, dying, living, dying. Do you remember the clip where Doc was like, go, 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 and he just kept going out, getting a couple kills, dying, getting a couple kills, dying, 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 kill, 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 die, kill, die, kill, die, kill, die, kill, die, kill, die. It's a meat grinder. I'm telling you, I think that era of gaming I think we've moved on from it. I think the general population of people that play PvP games have moved on from that. They're not interested in it. Whether it's Halo or Apex scrapped their own arena mode. They tried to strip Apex down to a more arena-style gameplay, and nobody wanted it. It's a meat grinder full of hubris-soaked crab meat. Concord is described as strategy and fighting game inspired shooter, though. So perhaps those elements are there. If you look at the character select screen, there's tactical loadout variants. Okay, I mean, if they can tap into that, there's a potential that they would pull people of that more style of play. The people that are sick of the mindless quick twitch shooter, the people who don't really think Overwatch is that good because there's not enough gunplay. I will grant you that there are people who like the tight shooting and the tight map design, and they like the idea of being more tactical than just like mindlessly shooting. Like Call of Duty's like whoever shoots first. That's basically it's like gotcha. I win. Like, and if they have connection advantage or skill-based matchmaking is active, then who really won, right? A gifted member from V Game Veteran. Guys, we're 8 members away from 100, and we're about 8 minutes away from shifting gears to a show with Kirk about Silent Hill looks rough. Do me a favor. Let's set our sights. Let's get 400 likes on this video. We only need 50 more. There's like 600 of you here. Let's nail that. We can do it. And then just a couple more gifted members. I'll drop a 20 bomb, and we'll be shifting gears to talk about Silent Hill with Kirk. I think we just don't have the full picture, but I absolutely understand what you're saying. They really are emphasizing this asymmetrical thing. Right. Shelly, to me, when you're finally going to debut gameplay, they showed us their best. This is the best they've got. They showed playmaking, big, heroic moments. And I'm thinking to myself, it's Destiny with a dash of Overwatch. And I don't think that's going to have staying power. I don't think so. They added portals to basically what felt like Halo Arena style gameplay in Splitgate, and even that game ran out of steam. A gifted comes in from Stonespire, takes us to 93. If I know Stonespire, he'll probably do 2 more. He'll take us to 95. He wants somebody to dunk. He wants somebody to do a 5-bomb dunker with him. That's that. I'm gonna guess that's what he's doing. It goes to Vapor. Good to see you, Vapor. Do you think Marvel Rivals is as risky as Concord? Marvel Rivals has a lot in its corner. It's free. It looks like it would play well on mobile. And it looks like it's going to strongly appeal to the Overwatch community. And they're not happy right now. It also has Disney Marvel money backing it. So it'll be marketed out the waz. And they'll probably do, tournaments and stuff. If they can get esport, if they can get teams to get around it too, especially like orgs. There it is. Stonespire gifts another one, and he takes us to 94. And there it is, 95. He's setting it up. He's waiting for somebody to slam it home right here at the end of the stream. You guys are starting the week off so strong. Thank you so much, Stonespire. And Vapor pays it forward with his own gifted member. Thank you so much, Vapor. And takes us to 96. We also have a goal right now we have about 622 people paying for their own memberships. We would like to see that number at 1,000. And if we hit 1,000, we're going to come up with a crazy incentive. Like, I don't know. A Just Dance stream where I eat a ketchup steak at the same time. I'm just saying that's just a stupid idea that we won't do. But I'm just throwing out there a 5-bomb from Siege Master. And there it is. Agent of Chaos as well. He takes us to 101. I now owe you guys 20 members. I will drop that on the chat momentarily. Give me 1 second. I'm going to schedule the stream with Kirk. And then I'm going to get him on the line here in a moment. After this PlayStation State of Play, I'm really trying to keep my status as a pony while I talk about Concord negatively. And then I'm going to talk about a timed exclusive negatively, Because you only do that to appear balanced. Speaking of balanced, you should look into becoming a balanced person. Anyway, all right, let's get this. Let's see. Silent Hill 2. How do they have it classified on YouTube? They have it listed as Silent Hill 2 Remake. It doesn't look like they have it. I mean, it's probably this one that doesn't have a date. Gaming news. Go here. And no, we're not using any of that. Get my tags going. There we go. Set this for noon. Yeah, the destructive environments in Marvel Rivals actually did look pretty dope. Like, I want you to think like... Just think like Dum Dum Consumer, okay? So Dum Dum Consumer goes to the store front and they say, Marvel Rivals is free, Concord is $40. Like, that alone immediately sets up, I think, a bad situation for Concord. I agree with about everything you said, Lono, but I can't help. I got a feeling it's going to be a hook into the shooter community like Rainbow Six Siege. Well, let me drop my 20 bomb on chat that I owe you. Guys, thank you for such an amazing start to the week. I wasn't sure how this topic would go over, but you guys have made it great. And then let me get Kirk on the line here. What's with all the horror games lately? Yeah, Dan, you or somebody else said that during the show, during the State of Play, and I don't know why you said that. You're like, oh, another horror game. How many horror games were in the showcase? 30 seconds Alien VR trailer, Until Dawn remake, and Silent Hill 2. So 3 out of 14, and one was a VR game. Like, I don't understand why anybody was saying that. Like, that wasn't a lot. That wasn't a lot in my opinion. I mean, you could disagree with me. Oops. You could certainly disagree with me, but okay.
Oh.
What's up, good sir?
State of Play are typically horror heavy, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't
typically get a Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. I didn't feel it was all that horror heavy this time, though.
I still don't see you.
Oh, hang on. Oh, it's because my camera's not plugged in.
What's going on, chat? How you guys doing? Did you miss me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's been a while since
I'm sure
we've had
Creature
you.
was ecstatic.
Been a while since we've had you on the show.
Creature must have been overjoyed.
All right, hang on. Let me minimize
It has.
that.
It has. I'm going to try and get you to make up for it next week.
Okay. All right, there we go. Let me get some gameplay up here.
I will say, on the topic at hand, before we leave it, I'm more excited for Concord than I think I want to be. Like, I'm like personally, like internally embarrassed about it because I'm somebody who likes Overwatch more than Apex and Fortnite. Like, I like Overwatch more than the Battle Royale scene. So, and I'm somebody who played a lot of Destiny Crucible. Like, honestly, that was my favorite part of Destiny, was Iron Banner. Trials is a little bit sweaty for me, but I did go flawless one time. So, like, that was obviously an experience that was really fun. So yeah, I have those memories of Destiny Crucible. I wish it still felt as good. It may now. I haven't played in 2 years, but I wish it had still felt as good when I left Destiny. So, and I still play Overwatch like semi-regularly, even in 2023, 2024. So like the idea of taking those three guys that like you're familiar with as working on Destiny PvP and then making like an Overwatch game with all this like thematic stuff about space and Guardians adjacent, like I'm on board. I just want to know the asking price. I literally just want to know the asking price. Like, what are you going to charge me for this? Can I get it with PS Plus somehow? You know, and then at that point, it's like if they're not going to ask me for $60, $70, I'm probably in. If they're going to ask me for $60, $70, I'm probably out. So that pricing, I think, is going to be a big swing point for a lot of people.
Oh, sure. And even at $40, like Helldivers was PvE, this is PvP, and how many people are going to say, why are you charging for a PvP only game? There will be people that'll just say that right out of the gate.
Right.
Like that'll be their initial thought will be, it's PvP only, why are you charging money for it? And it's difficult not to kind of agree with them, and you know, that's unfortunate that the market has kind of said that, well, this is kind of the standard now. If you're only going to deliver PvP, it better be a free game. That happened with Battlefield. Remember, Battlefield was like, oh, we're going to charge full price for a PvP only game. And
Black Ops 4 as well.
Oh, right. That was like the one time they cut the campaign.
Yeah, which they got away with that, I think, because it's Black Ops. And people are like, yeah.
Did they get away with it, though? I thought that was the thing that they went back and said they were never going to do that again.
Well, didn't we say that Hogwarts broke like a 7-year streak of Call of Duty being the #1 selling game? So Black Ops 4 would have been in that 7-year period where they were on top.
Well, so was Vanguard. And I remember they said even as Vanguard was seen to be one of their worst, as well as worst selling, it was still a top seller. So it's hard to know for them, was it seen as a dip, right? Globally or nationally, it's like, well, yeah.
I guess I'm arguing, like, does it really matter if they still are the highest selling game of the year? Like, what they think or like what their expectancy is?
It does if it makes them change strategy, because seemingly they were like, yeah, we better not do that again.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going scorched shirt today, so.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is...
I'm not going to be nice.
No, that's fine. I've got the release date trailer, but I also have the longer gameplay trailer, and they both have terrible like ratios. Both. 10,000 likes, 11,000 dislikes. And then the longer gameplay trailer that I think looks better, 13,000 likes, 12,000 dislikes. So
is
people
that terrible in this day and age?
For this, yeah, you don't want to see a split like that on a trailer.
Concord's like way worse, right?
Oh,
like Concord's like 1 to 4. Yeah,
Concord's just so bad.
In the gutter.
It's bad. It's like Kill the Justice League trailer bad. Like that's how bad it's being voted. Yeah.
Which, like, this looks way better than that, right? I mean, I don't know. You're like the Justice League guy, or you were, now converted, but which is funny that Donnie says that like I'm the Justice League guy. I don't know where that came from. He just kind of started that. I'm in the Justice League fan club. I don't know what he said. It's like a little moniker that he has now. It's a good bit, but yeah. As like the guy who thought the Justice League maybe had a snowball's chance in hell. Do you think this looks better or worse than Justice League did?
I
like
think
in the lead up, try to put yourself back at like your optimism in January, if you can do that.
I think the mistake I made with Kill the Justice League was I said, listen, people wanted a certain game and they're not getting it, and I think that was true to an extent. But I think I was maybe too simplistic in what I was saying. I think what people saw was, I've played that game before, I've done that kind of activity before, and they were just like, this just looks like generic trash. I think people are having the same response to Concord. I think they're looking at Concord and they're like, I've played that game before. I'm not seeing anything new or unique. That doesn't mean that they haven't created their own spin on the hero shooter, but if you feel like you've played enough hero shooters, you're just going to quickly dismiss this game and say, yeah, I don't care about that at all. And I think the other thing that hurts it is, I think, and this is where PlayStation, you know, I know what they're doing, but their audience is like, okay, finally, Summer Game Fest season is here. It's time to hear from PlayStation. Where's Ghost of Tsushima 2? Where's all the big single-player AAA bangers? All your studios have been quiet, and they get Concord. And it's like, what the frick? Like, a huge portion of the state of play is dedicated to a 5v5 hero shooter, and the PlayStation audience is saying, what are you doing? Now, PlayStation may say, that's fine. They're not the target audience, right? The ravenous people who want another God of War and who want another Tsushima, they might not be the target audience for this, and they tend to be the people who are more engaged on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube. So that could be a potential part of this as well.
Before you take your bathroom break, I do want to go on record for something about this, which is that, yeah, I think that there is a large audience of people that there is a general lack of awareness of in the discourse about this game. And because of that, I think that the success of this game is actually going to come in large part more down to the beta launch in July than the actual launch of the game. Because the beta launch is going to be the first impressions. And with it being free, and with it being like fairly easy to get into it, I think you get 4 beta codes if you pre-order. There'll be ways to get into it. I'll probably go to a GameStop, get a code on a receipt, and then I can retract my pre-order if I want to. That's kind of my technique. But like with it having pretty easy access to get in for free, a lot of people that play Overwatch and any type of adjacent hero shooters like that, but mostly people that play Overwatch, because there's still like a pretty sizable player base for that game, are going to want to try it out. And it's the same thing. We see the same thing with DBD all the time, Dead by Daylight. Whenever there's like a similar asymmetrical horror game like Killer Clowns recently, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Evil Dead game, Outlast, like if you see any of those, the streamers and everybody will hop on in the new game, check it out while it's like hot and it's new and everything. And then if it doesn't have staying power, they'll go back. But the more staying power that a game like that has, that's adjacent to something that's been around. I mean, Dead by Daylight's been around since 2016, I think, same period of time as Overwatch. The more staying power the new game has, it holds on to some people that made that switch, and that's where a lot of their audience comes from. And so I think the amount of staying power that this game shows, or like the potential that it shows in this July beta, is going to be very, very critical to if people that are coming over from Overwatch that are starving for some like new breath of fresh air type of evolution of that content loop. It all depends on their impression of that game, and then if they're like, that was awesome, that was what I was looking for, that Overwatch hasn't been able to deliver for me in the last 2 to more years, they'll be like, yeah, I'll give you $40, like let's go, like I'm in. Or they won't, because the game doesn't have much to show or offer. So I think that beta is going to be critical. There are going to be people, just like Marvel Rivals, that are going to come over and try that game out. And if it shows them something, I think they're in. But if it doesn't have anything meaningful or significant as far as the player experience, that game's going to flop.
I don't disagree with you that the beta is incredibly important, but I think they're making another fatal flaw in requiring you to pre-order, and people and Eugene's been speculating. He's like, well, the way they're verbalizing it sounds like it's going to be there'll be an open one later, right?
That would be nice. Yeah.
Okay, I get that. More controlled environment for pre-orders. You don't have to worry about server queues and everybody blitzing and then things crashing. Okay, fine. The free beta, then, I think to what you're saying, really has to nail it, and they're going up against a free beta of Rivals in July. And I think Overwatch beta hit the same time as that game Battleborn from Gearbox, and many people said that really took the wind out of the sails for Battleborn. Now, there was more of a one-to-one between those two games, but Battleborn had a significant PvE element to it, but its MOBA-style gameplay with characters and abilities was directly compared to Overwatch, and people are like, Overwatch is better. And plus, it's got Blizzard's stamp of, excellence and fandom behind it.
Yeah.
This has got Marvel behind it. Oh, Eugene's saying they tweeted there's an open one. Oh, it's not speculation. Okay, so there will be an open beta. Okay.
Yeah, that lines up with Marvel Rivals beta. They messed up. Like, that's just point blank period.
It's going to be hard not to, because the game Concord releases in August. Pre-orders open in June, and then Marvel Rivals is in July. That's where their beta lands.
Okay, but the launch date for Marvel Rivals is out of 2024, we think, right? Or is that wrong? I thought that game wasn't coming out on console at least until 2025.
I don't know when it's coming out, but that
might be the only advantage that Concord has. Is like, okay, you liked this, it's here next month. Whereas Marvel Rivals is like, yeah, I really liked that, but I can't play it for another half a year. But yeah, if the timing of those beta, they need to be smart about that. They really do. Because you're absolutely right. Marvel Rivals could totally take the wind out of their sails.
Concord tweeted and said, you will receive 5 codes for the Concord Open Beta Early Access Weekend in July. They're almost inevitably going to land in the same time frame as Rivals if they're not careful. Because if the early access open beta... The early access open beta is for pre-orders. Usually that means the following week as they open up the beta to everybody. They better do their best to avoid Rivals. And then
is there any shot...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just totally interrupted you. My apologies. Is there any shot with them both being in the state of play that they might have coordinated beforehand? Like there might be some PlayStation organization going on here, maybe like with whatever marketing deal PlayStation has with Marvel Rivals, showing them off in the state of play and stuff. Because that was weird in and of itself that they were both in the same presentation.
That's a good question. Like maybe PlayStation negotiated and said, hey, listen, we'll do the marketing. We'll let this thing come. We'll put your name out there in lights, but you can't land at the same time as our game. That's just not going to work. That I think that's a good insight that maybe, and again, if Concord lands first or second, I think that's in their advantage because I think comparing it to Rivals, this is going to sound weird, but I think if people directly compare the two, that'll be good for Concord because they'll say, yeah, Rivals is more about abilities, it's third person. Concord feels a lot more like Destiny first person tight gunplay, and that will serve Concord to capture people that somebody said it seems like it might be more tactical than maybe we think. So maybe they can draw on those people that will be like, yeah, Destiny's kind of, we've got some distance from the final shape. Everybody's kind of burned out. Everybody's kind of worn out. It's time for something with a new fresh coat of paint. So, and I keep coming back to Firewalk's only 150 people. So PlayStation may be totally happy if this game garners 80 to 100,000 concurrents for at least a month. Yeah. And then if it's a slow decline after that, that's fine. They gathered all the info they needed. They broke even on the cost. And you know, because
I'm just happy I might be able to play Destiny style PvP without having to navigate the economy of Destiny, if I'm honest.
There have been people that have kind of thrown that speculation out there. Did Hamrick, Wisniewski, and Jerome, did they all say, hey, look, there's a ton of people over there that we can automatically get loyalty from? Almost how like Bungie got loyalty from Halo heads in the early days of Destiny 1. And that really helped Destiny at some level. This game could be saying the same thing. Like, look, man, D2's heading towards end of life. People are so burned out on that game anyway. Let's offer something that doesn't have all the hangups and baggage of PvE.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people that, like, we're not going to name drop here, but that have, like, made their living in years past on purely PvP Destiny content that have sort of migrated away from there because there's not really a strong PvE type of in-game type of loot. Yeah. In the way that there was more emphasis on it in the early days of Destiny, and it's just not there anymore. Those creators, they don't play Destiny anymore. But I bet, you know, those guys might be making some calls and being like, hey, can we work out a sponsorship, you know? And those guys might be like, yeah, man, I was going to play it for free. Like, let's do it. And they're in, and they're showing off how it feels, how good it looks, you know, at high level. And there's a path. There's a path for this game, and I hope it does well because you can see the effort. Like, even though it looks generic, I do agree with you that it looks generic, but it looks generic because, unfortunately, there's just other things out there that have sort of gone in this type of aesthetic and this type of niche and everything. Like, the Guardians movies are out there, the Guardians game is out there, Starfield is out there, Mass Effect is out there. I mean, there's too many things now. And so, like, I don't think it's generic because of a lack of tender love and care. I think it's generic because there's a lot of space, quippy, fun, outlaw stuff. We're getting a Star Wars game with that this year, you know? Like, right. I mean, there's just too much stuff. So I hopefully the attention to detail and, like, the depth that they're trying to give these characters and everything will shine through, and the gameplay will shine through. But, like, it's tough out there nowadays. Yeah. There's severe oversaturation, and it's a real problem that's not going to go away. Yeah, well, and I'm going to take my break, and then we're going to shift. But I pointed out in my upload, there are animations in this game, like, almost directly ripped from Destiny. Like, yeah, with the, like, the hand cannon, and then, like, well, like, I had the one guy... about it, dude. The one guy, Hunter, dodges backwards. Yeah. I mean, almost identical. The girl, like, floats like a warlock. She in-air dashes, and then she kind of flings... Even the like
flings
the
the
little
grenade.
like send the grenade, like the little
And then
like.
it just so
toss.
happens to be
Yeah.
a fire grenade that creates a wall of fire. It's like, where have I seen that before? You know, and
I'm
then the
telling you,
Titan
man.
guy, he's like thundering forward and slams the ground. I'm like, this all looks really familiar to me.
I loved me some original Destiny PvP. I really did, and I don't want to play Destiny anymore because all those currencies and all that MMO stuff. So give it to me, man. I'm in. I think just depends on that price point. It really does. $30 would be chef kiss. Oh my god, you could get people to buy this for $30 easy.
It'll be 40 like Hell.
be-
I think it'll be 40 like Helldivers. I think that's their
But
standard.
if it's
that'll be
30,
their
it'll
standard.
sell, baby. It'll sell. You know what I'm
Maybe,
saying? Like
maybe.
it, like that $10 is like. All of a sudden, it's like, you know, what's the thing online, like boy math and girl math or whatever? Like, you bring it down to $30. There's a lot of people who are going to be boy mathing and girl mathing being like, well, that's basically free. Like, you know? All right, go run to the bathroom, buddy.
Yep. I'll be right back.
Chat, how we doing? Yes, Linux is a hunter for sure. Yeah, I don't even know what an Icarus Dash is, man. It's been that long since I've played Destiny. We got Dave Langer in the chat. Concord needs to be like Helldivers 2 and not like Destiny 2. That's how it does microtransactions. The microtransaction thing is tough. Like that's a fine line to walk. Multiverses came out last week, and I was so excited about it, and I feel like they microtransaction that game to hell. Like WB got in there and ruined it. Dave, it's not Chick-fil-A. I'm honoring Lono's home turf with some Kentucky Fried Chicken. Is Star Wars Hunters a Switch exclusive? For console, Ryu Cat, it is. It's also on mobile. But if you want to play that game on console, it's only on Switch. I am very excited about that game. Actually. That's tomorrow, actually. So that's exciting. I wanna jump in that. Thank you, Garrett Green. You honor me. I appreciate that. You guys got to convince Lono to let me do Ubisoft Forward with him, because I really want to. But Creature may not let me stick around for longer than like an hour and a half. But I want to go along for Summer Games Fest. I think that would be really fun, and I've always wanted to do something like that. Yes, Ryu Cat, I'm gonna check it out. I don't know if I'll check it out tomorrow or Wednesday, but I will be playing that game. Maybe not even until the weekend, but I'm gonna play that game. That game looks really cool. And also the thing about it being on Switch and mobile is that I think Switch is going to have an inherent advantage with the sticks, and I love me a good old-fashioned unfair advantage. I had a lot of fun playing Fortnite on Switch because I think it's the same way, or at least it used to be, where you would actually queue in with mobile and not PS4 and Xbox players. So I used to get me some dubs on Fortnite on Switch. We can ask Lono what he thinks about Star Wars Hunters before we go into Silent Hill. NSO? NSO? What's NSO? Am I dumb? NSO. Network. Something. Did Star Wars Hunters already have like a beta or something? I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. Hey, chat, do me a favor. Double check your likes. We only need 30 more. Help us out before we leave. This video did well, and you can help it do even better when we leave. I am going to spam a link in chat. We're going to redirect to Silent Hill 2 Looks Rough. We did this before with Ronin. It turned out to be one of our most watched episodes, as well as a great thing to revisit. So this game is sort of around the corner. So we'll be able to see if we were right or we were wrong.
Spooky season.
All right, there you go. Link is in chat. That's where we're headed. And I already gifted all the members I owe you guys. Guys, great start to the week. If you do it during the show, I won't be able to shout it out. But you can obviously keep going if you want. And then I have to replay. I have to go back into Lies of P if you guys hit the weekly goal and try to beat that stupid boss that made me stop playing.
The swamp one?
Whatever his name is, yeah. He's like
that was my hardest one, I think.
Like a priest or something.
Oh, you just suck.
I mean, it wasn't even that I wasn't even having a hard time. I was like, I don't like this.
It's not fun. Okay,
after three tries, I
agree.
was like,
I agree with that. I agree. Yeah. I actually totally second that.
I was like, this isn't fun.
Yeah,
it just keeps making my blade dull. I'm out. All right, links in chat. I'll start it here in a second, and then I'll redirect you guys as well. Thanks so much for checking out this video where, for a weekly segment, I sit down on Mondays, I tackle a topic with Kirk. Say that 5 times fast. And Silent Hill 2 looks rough. What's going on? Some of the stuff looks good. Some looks really bad, and we're not quite sure what the deal is. So we're going to be breaking this down. We got the release date trailer. We got the extended gameplay. Kirk said he's going scorched earth. So get ready. He's already unbuttoned the polo. He's ready. He's going to bring the heat. Kirk, thanks for coming back, man. Glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Everybody got a week off from me, so they're actually glad to see me now. You know, it's a good cadence there, maybe. No, you're stuck with you. I'm here every week. Get used to it. No, but this is a game that I was really excited about, and
hold on
the
one
more
second.
I see of it,
the
less excited I am.
I don't want you to go off into anything. I got to end the previous stream and redirect. So I'm going to end the previous stream and redirect, and then we can get into it. You got to make that. You got to get in and get out on that intro because I got to bring people over. I'll start bringing people over before I throw.
I didn't say nothing. I didn't tell him.